All right, and we are live at exactly 5:30 today. Very punctual. No technical difficulties from any of us whatsoever. So,
Nope, it's all good.
yes, yep, we are here today, or I guess I am here joined by Ryan and Anthony, and we will be discussing the Insidious franchise today because there was that new one that just came out this past Friday. So, um, Ryan, how are you doing today?
Doing good, man. Thanks for inviting me on. I'm glad we got everything figured out.
Hell
Yeah.
yeah.
Anthony, how are you doing today?
Doing awesome, man. Really good day. I'm
Yeah.
excited to talk about some Insidious.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So the reason why I invited the two of you, I have specific reasonings why, but I didn't share it with you guys.
Ooh,
Because
sneaky.
one, I know Anthony loves horror movies, so I was like, horror movies, got to get Anthony. And then I vaguely remember scrolling through Letterboxd one day and saw that Ryan had a very high rating for Insidious, the first one at least. And I was like,
Oh, okay.
So that is why. So I thought it'd be great if we got all of us together to discuss the new one in the franchise. So,
I thought it was going to be funny if you
yeah.
said Ryan hates Insidious. Hates it. Hates it.
Yes, we are only here to torture Ryan tonight.
And he was just
That is-
nice enough to come on and share his opinions.
These movies are trash.
Yes. Awesome. So, I actually have banners all made up. So,
Nice.
for like little different segments we can do. So,
There you go.
So first off, general overview. We'll just kind of go through like our general thoughts on the entire franchise, and then I have each of the movies. We can work our way through all the movies in chronological order,
Yeah.
talking about them like in depth, spoilers for the new one, and like anything. So if you haven't seen it yet, you've been warned. And then at the very end, we will rank the franchise. We'll each share our rankings.
Sounds good.
So the general overview of the franchise. Who would like to start? Whoever wants to.
I'll go ahead and start it off. I'll kick us off here.
All right.
I'll say overall, I think it's a pretty solid franchise. I think I enjoy most of these films. There is one that I'm not such a big fan of, and there's one that has a particular actor that I seem to not be as big of a fan of either. So, but overall, I would say pretty good time, pretty fun,
Yeah, I would say, like, as far as the franchise as a whole, they're generally lower budget movies, and the first one was made in $1 million. So, that's pretty good. Just the fact that it's made as much money as it has, and I know the new one is the second highest opening out of all of them. So on opening weekend, so that's pretty cool.
It is cool, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
good to see horror doing well.
James Wan is the king of that too, making really solid horror films on a very low budget.
Right?
He really is. I mean, Saw was made on a really low budget as well, and I'm sure Death Sentence and Dead Silence also probably weren't made with that big of a budget. If I had to guess, say they're pretty modest budgets. Besides getting Kevin Bacon on for Death Sentence, that was probably the most expensive thing, and John Goodman.
Yeah, it's good with these movies that you can, it proves that you don't have to have a big budget for people to come out.
Yep.
And as long as it's entertaining and has like a half decent story, people are going to keep watching. So
absolutely.
Yeah. And on to that too, James Wan has started 3 franchises: Saw, Insidious, and The Conjuring. He
He's
did the first movie, and and now it's this whole franchise just because he had this one idea for one movie. So it's pretty impressive for James Wan. He's only done like a dozen films.
I agree for sure.
As for me, I'm not too familiar with the Insidious movies. I'll be honest. I watched all of them for the first time for the new one.
Mm-hmm.
But I had seen the first one a while ago, but didn't really remember it all that much. But yeah, I think it's a decent franchise. It's not like one of my favorites, but you could do a whole lot worse than this.
Right.
Like I don't think there's an atrocious one to me in this that I think is like unwatchable. I would say personally,
Right.
but so I'd say I'm more of just like a a casual Insidious fan instead of like a mega fan or something. So that's
Right.
kind of my take on it. Have you guys like? Are you guys? Have you like watched all these ones in the theaters or like seen them all in theaters?
Yeah, I actually have seen every single one in theaters.
I've only seen the last one in theater.
Oh wow.
I haven't seen any of them in theater. As a matter of fact, the first one I ever saw was Last Key,
Oh wow.
the fourth one, which is funny. And then I kind of, or no, that's not true. I'm sorry. I did see the first one, but it was at like a friend's house and we were watching it and there was like a group of us. So I barely remembered it. I just remembered like key moments from it. Cause you know what it's like when sometimes when you're watching movies with all your friends and stuff, there's
Yeah.
usually talking back and forth and stuff. So it was very foggy. The one that I actually sat down, bought the Blu-ray for, watched it was the Last Key, so that was the one I really had. But Insidious technically was the first one, but it was very foggy and hazy, trying to remember exactly what happened. So it was nice going back and rewatching all these, and then seeing the fifth one in the theater.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to watch them all. I did like two a day. I did 1 and 2 one day, and then 3 and 4, and then you just saw the fifth one straight up. So, for me, yeah, I've reviewed them all in theaters, and I remember when Insidious came out, and I believe they were still doing midnight showings.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that would make
So,
sense. Yeah.
yeah, and then at the time too, that's when like my sister and everybody, like we would go to the midnight showings and watch these kinds of movies. That, and I remember that, and specifically I remember Conjuring too. So yeah, like these movies, I really enjoy watching in a theater. And like I said, I really respect the fact that the budget is, what they've done with a budget, especially the first one, I would say, for sure,
Absolutely.
what they've created.
Yeah, it came out in
Awesome.
2010, the first one, so that makes sense. They were definitely still doing
Yeah.
those midnight showings.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The first one's not that old. Like, I don't know. I always want to think that the first one was like made early 2000s, but then every time I'm
No.
like, no, it's 2010. Like, it's fairly recent, like not extremely old.
It's not old, but if you think of some of like the teenagers that would see this new one, it would be considered old, I guess you could say, because there are
Yeah.
some people that probably, I'm sure, haven't watched any of them, that just went straight into the fifth one, and they probably haven't watched some of the older ones. So,
Hmm.
but I think for the fifth one, you could watch both. You could go to the theater and not watch the first two if you wanted to, because I do think in the new one it kind of recaps certain things, but I think it'd be safer probably if you probably do the first two, because obviously it follows
You
after
you don't
this.
really need to see 3 or 4 to
No,
understand 5
No.
at all. It's
not
really
at
just a
all.
direct sequel to 2.
Right.
So
What about you, Fox? What were your overall thoughts? General overview. You just
of
said it's you're just kind of like
yeah, I'm
you
just
like
kind of
it,
like
but
there.
you're not.
Yeah, like it's not like we did that live stream, our top 5 horror franchises. When I
Yeah.
was doing that, well, I hadn't seen them yet, but if I were to redo that, I probably wouldn't consider putting Insidious on that list, like the franchise, because those are like franchises I love. I wouldn't say I love this franchise, but like if I were to do like a worst horror franchises, I wouldn't consider it on that. It's just kind of in that middle gray area where I think it's okay, fine. Where it's not like I dread rewatching them or whatever. It's just kind of like cool. Most of them just exist for me.
Yeah.
So
No, that's fair.
yeah, but and I didn't see any of them until this last one in theaters because I wasn't into horror movies at all. Then like
Okay.
I was when the first one came out, I was probably like 7, maybe 8. So no way I'm watching the first Insidious that young in theaters. So
Well, as far as this genre of horror though, like how comfortable would you say, like ranking wise, as far as like this kind of genre of horror? Like, is it like, it's all right with that kind of genre, or is it something where you're kind of like, you know what I mean? Like some people they like demons and all that stuff, but other people are like, it's kind of lower on my list for like horror subgenres.
Yeah, I would say when it comes to ghost movies, yeah, I'd rather watch The Conjuring, The Conjuring 2. I'd rather watch The Exorcist, you know, because it's still possession. This is like possession, and you know, as well. Like, I don't know. Yeah, there are other ghost movies that I'd probably rather rewatch. I mean, it's good though; it's effective, but yeah, it's just I don't know. What about you guys?
I would say for me, I'm not really that big of a fan of like the whole demon possession subgenre.
Right.
I mean, there are like certain ones that I really enjoy, but it's not like um, something that I'm necessarily like, yes, another demon possession movie. I want to see this. I'm going to love it. You know, I'm kind of more hesitant to that because I just kind of feel like it's been overdone with it all. But I think as far like, I think the Insidious franchise has a unique style, like overall, compared to the other ones, just like with the way that they do the ghosts and demons with like the astral projection stuff and the further, and it's not just, oh, haunted house. You know,
Right.
there's a spirit here. It's like, well, there's a demon, but it's in a different dimension and all that stuff. So there's a little bit more lore and stuff that I think's more interesting. But it's still not necessarily my cup of tea, but it's more interesting than just generic demon movie, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you, Ryan? Do you like this subgenre, the demon possession?
I seem to have a soft
stuff?
spot for this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, like I know last year, I remember like PG-13 horror movies. I know some people are not like they're not big on the PG-13 genre, but I look at it from a perspective of when I was going, like I really started going to movies later in life, like on a regular basis, like I do now. And I think it really happened more so like towards the end of high school for me. And like these kinds of PG-13 horror movies were like the stuff that I was getting into and like really got me into horror. Like, don't get me wrong, I watched other horror movies, but I feel like these are the movies where I was like, all right, I've got to go to the midnight showing and go see The Conjuring or Insidious or whatever horror movie was coming out. So I have a deep appreciation for these kinds of movies. And I like to, revisit them from time to time. So I do like the way that they, like I said, the fact that it's low budget and the fact that they can pull off these stories, with each movie. And even the weakest one to me isn't even like that bad. Like there's worse movies out there, I should say.
I would agree. I would agree with that.
So like I don't feel like any movie are just like, oh man, that's such a dread to watch. Like I'm not gonna watch that again. It just may be a little bit more so on the least end of you revisiting as much as the others. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah. I think you can get away with doing PG-13 horror when it comes to these like possession movies, ghost movies, spirit movies a lot easier too, because usually there's not like a ton of blood and gore, and you don't really need to, drop a million F-bombs or anything like that to make it,
Right.
you don't have to make it super sexy or anything.
Yeah.
So
it's not Friday the 13th.
Yeah, it's not Friday the 13th. It's not Halloween. You're not going for like the blood and guts and carnage. It's not Terrifier. It's not like it's not going for that kind of thing. You can do these, and I'll be honest. Some of these, these Insidious films definitely have, I would say, a pretty hard edge to them for a PG-13 movie as well.
Right.
Kind of similar to The Ring. The Ring has a very hard edge, and that's also a PG-13 movie.
Yeah.
But it feels a lot more darker and grittier and graphic for a PG-13 film. So I think they get away with quite a bit. But yeah, it doesn't have to be R-rated. If it's a slasher, I think it should be R-rated, because the whole point of a slasher is blood, guts, boobs.
Yeah, see people die.
So
that makes sense.
That's the fun of a slasher movie. Like that's the point, So
makes sense.
Carnage candy, as they say.
Yeah. Yeah. No one went to go see Halloween Kills and Ends because they're like, you know what? I'm ready for like Oscar-worthy script. They're like, no, I'm here to see Michael kill 50 people and then get shot 15 times and walk away into the sunset. So. All right. I'm gonna read a few comments before we start diving into them.
Sounds good.
Luke
What's up,
Ponto, what's
Luke?
going on, guys?
What's up,
Hope all
Luke?
is well. Hello, Luke. I hope all is going well with you too. Uh-oh. Anthony is a psychopath, so you have to have him on. Okay. Well,
Thank you,
we'll be
Alan.
cautious with Anthony tonight. The Reed Dave Show.
Hey,
What up,
Dave.
Ryan
What's
and
up?
others? Hello.
What's up, Dave?
I like all three Conjuring films, and I enjoyed the first three Insidious movies.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Go.
liked all three of the main Conjuring films, which a lot of people seem to not like the third one that came out just like
I'm on that
2
boat.
years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it was
Like
just kind of like this. Yeah, it was just
yeah,
kind of.
I thought it was okay. It's definitely not on the level of the first two, but
Mm.
I don't know. I just saw like a lot of people like worst of the year. I was like, I don't
Yeah,
really think that, but
I don't think it's the worst of the year.
it's definitely the weakest of the main Conjuring movies. I think that's pretty safe to say, but
Oh,
I didn't
yeah.
think it was atrocious. But
Yeah.
when you're stacked up against the Conjuring 1 and Conjuring 2, kind of
And there's something about the Conjuring 3 as well that it's so clean looking. It doesn't, how the first two Conjuring movies kind of have like this grit to them, this kind of
yeah,
gritty
that
kind of
low
whatever.
budget feel, kind
Yeah,
of like
and
a
the
little
third
bit of
one,
home movie.
the third one looks like so digitized and just
higher
so
production value.
perfect
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
clean, and I'm like, good lord, man, no, it's making it bad. The more money you dump into these horror movies, I think the worse they get. You just need to stop. Don't give them that much money.
Yeah.
Take the Terrifier approach. Only use like a
Right.
few $100,000 and then make millions off of it. So
just
There you go.
don't go crazy. Make $1 million the top end. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all you get. $1 million and down. That's all you get to work with.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right, so let's start off with 2010's Insidious, the first one. So,
Ooh, where is it, guys?
where is it? Where is it? You got yours? You got yours right?
I don't have my movies in this room, but they're. But I do have it.
Yeah. We have for anyone who doesn't know, we had a group chat where we set this all up, and we all three like sent pictures when we all got the 4K steelbook of Insidious.
It was very exciting.
All right. Anthony, how about you start us off with the first Insidious?
Yeah, I mean, I love the first Insidious. I thought it held up very well. It was great, like I said, kind of rewatching it because the first time I watched it, I barely remembered anything about it, but I love the whole concept of it. The whole like astral projecting thing was very different. Like it wasn't just like a normal possession type movie. Like they had like James Wan kind of added his own little flair to it, which was nice. It was different. Patrick Wilson, Rose Byrne, love those actors. I think they did a great job. So Patrick Wilson is such an underrated actor. It's unbelievable. I feel like nobody ever talks about him.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys you can bring his name up and they'll be like, who? And then you'll be like, The Conjuring, Insidious. Oh,
yeah, I know that guy.
But he's good in everything he does.
Yeah.
I saw something one time that was like Patrick Wilson is like the epitome of someone trying to become A-list, but they just never get there. And I was like, that is so harsh.
Yeah, it's true.
But it's like kind of true, but it's like he's so good in everything he's in.
Yeah.
But it's just like he just like doesn't get like all those like main roles or like huge movies or whatever. But like it sucks. He's a great actor.
But yeah, I think him and Rose Byrne have good chemistry. I buy it. Like when they're moving into the house and they've got the kids. The kids are all really good actors too, so I appreciated that. And obviously then some funky stuff starts going down. And and then Lynn Shay comes in, Elise, and then she brings Specs and Tucker in to like investigate, do all that. So see, I love all that. It's funny because you can draw a lot of similarities between the Insidious franchise and the Conjuring franchise, right? Because they both kind of do that same thing, but it's so well done. I don't even care. You know what I mean? Because it's just fun. And I'll say this too. Lynn Shay, we all know, is great. She's like horror royalty. I mean, Lynn Shay, is phenomenal as Elise. But some people kind of give Tucker and Specs a little bit of crap. Have you ever heard people like kind of like give
I've
them
heard
like
that,
a little?
yeah.
I'm like, I like Tucker and Specs, man. I mean, they're just, I don't know. I think they fit in really well into the whole dynamic. They add like a little bit of levity, but not too much. They don't make it too goofy, but they had just enough levity to where it's like, okay, they're both super nerdy and into this whole ghost hunting type thing. I like that.
Yeah.
And then I like how Specs, every time Elise sees something, he's jotting it all down and drawing like a picture and doing all this. Or he writes it down. Was she drawing the picture, or does he also draw? He draws it, right? I think
I
he was
believe
drawing
so.
it too. I think he was drawing it.
Describe it or something.
Yeah, and yeah, she's describing it, and then he's drawing it as well. Yeah, so I like that. And then I like how Tucker's kind of like, the cameraman and they're, recording all the sound and doing all that kind of stuff. So they've got like a great dynamic. She sees everything, Specs draws it and writes it down. The other guy films it, he records it, he does all the audio work. So I love that whole dynamic. And yeah, I think overall it's just, and then of course the lipstick demon's fantastic too, right? I mean, it's great looking design. Looks a little too much like Darth Maul, a lot of people give a crap for the whole Darth Maul thing, but
Yeah.
I think it looks sweet. I love the music and all that plays, and yeah. So overall, really, really enjoy Insidious. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I wrote down some notes because
here we go. Good.
I had to for these movies.
Good, absolutely.
But some of the stuff that I wrote down was in the first one, the music with the banging of the piano keys. Like it's very prevalent throughout the film. What else do I have on here? Some of the camera angles. I like the one part where you hear the whispers on the baby monitor and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
And he just like, if you have the sound turned up on your TV like I do, I crank it. You just hear that guy go now, and it's just like, damn,
very effective.
And, the way that you just have the camera angle, how they have the camera with her looking up at the stairs, and I just like how they do all that. I like the part when she goes into the baby's room, and then they have the guy watching over the baby in the corner, and she freaks out, and then the father comes in. He's like, what happened, and all that stuff. The lighting, I like the lighting with the red lighting and everything like that.
Yes.
I love how we're introduced with the Tiptoe song, Tiptoe Through the Tulips or whatever. That's just like a staple, of the franchise. Like whenever you hear that song. And, I love the way that even though the demon looks like Darth Maul, I just like how, just how he's designed in general. Like I get like he's like the Darth Maul, but there's just certain scenes, like iconic scenes, like when they're at the dinner table and you see the demon behind them. The demon's lair. Love how his lair is. I love that he's up in the. They have like the bars, like up on top of the area where he's at, and he's
sharpening his fingers.
Yeah, sharpening his claws. That's pretty cool. It's just a really fun little movie. And I appreciate it so much. Like I give it 5 out of 5 stars. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat.
No,
absolutely. I love it. Like it still holds up. It's definitely one of my favorites, and I like it. It's not like it's a really tough story. Obviously Dalton, he falls off the ladder and then he goes into the coma, and then going into learning about the further and everything like that, and then us being introduced to Elise and all that. It just Specs and Tucker, they make these movies, obviously. Some of the humor that they have. I think there's certain parts too where like they'll just be chilling, and I think like Tucker like eats a sandwich or something like that. Yeah. He's always like eating or something like that.
Every scene, every time he enters like a household for the first time, he's always like eating something. Like one he's eating the ice cream sandwich. You know, and another one he's eating. You know, something. He's always got something that he's eating like before he enters the door to wherever they're going into. It's really funny.
Yeah. So
very subtle, but funny.
Yeah, I just like all the characters. I mean, there's not like one character I'm like, man, I don't like them. So I just think it's a really good entry to start it off.
Yeah,
so that's my thoughts.
What about you, Fox?
Yeah. So yeah, I really like this one. What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, I was gonna say it does hold up really well today. For all intents and purposes, I watched it for like the first time like a month ago, and I thought it was really damn good and holds up really well. There's just a lot of iconic moments in this first one. Like you kind of mentioned the sitting at the dinner table and then just the lipstick demon appears. That's like the most iconic thing in this franchise.
Right.
And just like one of the most iconic jump scares in recent memory. Like whenever you like look at a list about best movie jump scares, you always see that one on there. That's really good. I also really like the one you also kind of mentioned it when they like go into the baby's room. That's just the dude standing there, and then it goes away and he's gone. Like that one's really good.
Honestly, they kind of like I was gonna say the guy. They kind of look like this. I don't know, like some like dark cold or something like that. The way like he's dressed with like
when
his
he's just
jacket
standing
and
there.
everything.
Yeah.
So,
kind of like a Jack the Ripper looking type guy or something. Interesting look to him. Yeah.
But there's just a lot of really iconic elements in this movie. A lot of really good jump scares. I'm not really big on just movies that just rely on their jump scares, but I think this movie executes them really well because it builds tension to like, oh, something's gonna happen. You don't know what, you don't know if like someone's gonna die or something. You just know that a big wow moment's coming, and then the jump scare just like kind of comes out of left field for a lot of it. Really, really good building out the lore with like the whole astral projection and the further, and kind of like how Patrick Wilson's character has like this past with the further, but then he was like tricked into forgetting it, then has to like remember it. So it's just a really um well made story that is like very cohesive and like tight. Like there's not a whole lot of plot holes or like loopholes or anything. There's just really well made.
Oh, I also like the scare where the kid jumps out of the dresser.
Yeah.
That's really effective because there's like no like I don't think it hits you with the sound or anything. It just kind of happens and it's like, oh my god, you know, it just like the kid jumps out of there, you know, and he looks like he's dressed from like the 50s or something. It's just very creepy, you know. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of that James Wan is so good with those well-timed scares because every time you think it's happening now and then it doesn't happen, then he hits you with you know, so it's like, you know,
and especially for me, like when I watch as many movies as I do, a lot of horror movies too, you like know when the jump scare is coming. You can like, okay, like it's getting quiet. They're in a dark room. They don't know where this person is, and you know that they're gonna jump out or something, and you can like count it down and be able to tell like this is exactly how it's gonna happen. I appreciate it when movies can like get me with the scare, you know? So like with this one, it kind of got me a few times because it just really comes out of nowhere and actually makes you jump instead of, you know, you're just emotionless the whole time it happens because you knew it was coming.
Absolutely.
Yeah. They also like to when they first move and they think it's the house. And I like the scene where the boy is playing the piano, and then she's like, "Fuck, what was that?" And then she goes back in, and she obviously tiptoe through the windows playing or whatever. I don't know. I just really like that. I don't know if this movie started it or if it was a movie that first introduced it. But I noticed that horror movies, they'll definitely have like that happy giddy up kind of music like that throughout that it somehow turns creepy. I always wonder, like, what inspires these directors to put this like hippity hoppity kind of music into horror that makes it so damn creepy. And like that song, like you listen to it, if you never listened to it and actually watched Insidious, you would think nothing of it. But then like you watch Insidious and you're like, damn, that song's creepy. You know what I mean?
You know who else does that is Jordan Peele. Jordan
Okay.
Peele does that with
Oh
his
yeah.
with his movies as well. He'll put some
Yeah.
like songs in there that are, you know, more happy or fun or whatever, and then they'll just be like killing each other or doing something terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like in Us when they
Yeah.
have like the I got 5 on it and then it
Yep.
just like turns.
Yep. So,
I really like that cover of that song for that movie.
yeah, it's great.
Hmm. All right, let's move
Did you
on
want to?
to. Oh,
Did you
yes,
want
go
to
ahead.
cover spoilers at all, or is this a spoiler one, or no? Are we spoiling?
Yes,
We are
yes, we can
spoiling.
spoil things. Yes, we can.
Okay, so we should probably bring up the ending then if we're spoiling. You know, the ending to Insidious. You
Yeah,
know, Patrick Wilson gets taken over and then
by the Bright and Black. Yeah,
kills Lynn Shay. You know,
Elise.
Elise. You know, and that's yeah.
The end.
And that's like the whole thing. Like he gets taken over, kills Elise, and then you're left wondering like, what the hell happened? Are we hopefully we get a second one, or it's
great
just the
ending.
darkest ending ever. You
Mhm.
know?
Well, and also the other thing is
Yeah.
that we didn't mention it, but I also like the title cards and the music with the title cards.
Yes.
That it
Oh,
seems like so
yeah.
classic horror. Like I don't know, it reminds me of something that you would see like maybe like Dracula or something, like an old title card of like Dracula or something. I don't know if that's what they were going for, but that always has stuck out to me. Like,
Also reminds me of a little bit of like Evil Dead. How the Evil Dead
Yeah.
movies do
Oh yeah,
theirs.
you're right.
Just like with like the violins and stuff.
Yeah.
yeah.
And how it just kind of hits you too.
Yeah, it's
You
just
know?
like Silent Hill just.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
Yeah, I love it.
But yeah, I think it's a great ending, and I've seen some criticisms of the first, or not of the second one, of how it kind of undoes the ending of the first one with it just kind of being with the first one just like having this downer, like dark ending to the movie, and some people are like, "Oh, I prefer it that way," and then like I don't really like the second one all that much because it doesn't just like leave it there, and they just kind of want it to get left there.
Right.
I've seen that. To me personally, it doesn't. I don't know. I've never felt that way because I've always known that it's a franchise. You know, I wasn't like I didn't watch this movie in 2010, so it's not
Right.
like I just kind of was like, oh, there's a sequel. I'll see where this goes. So I've
How
never
did you
felt that.
feel? Because since you're the only one that actually like saw this in the theater, and then you know the rest of them weren't out yet, Ryan. How did you feel after you saw that ending? Were you like shocked? Did you expect a second one to come out, or were you just fine how it ended?
I kind of was like, damn, man, cliffhanger ending there. You know, at the time, I think I was 21 when this film came out, so a little bit older. But yeah, I mean, I really liked the ending. I when this first came out, I really liked the ambition of it. Like, and then after reading, like I said, it was $1 million to make, and what they did with it, I really liked it. Like, it's kind of always been there as, like if we were talking about the 2010s as like really good horror films, this would be at the top of my list. So, but yeah, the cliffhanger ending, I really like it.
Okay, good. Yeah, I agree. I like a dark ending, but it does. It's not just that it's a dark ending though, but it does leave you really hanging. It is a cliffhanger because you're like, it'd be one thing if like the spirit or whatever just like took him over and killed everyone or whatever. But the fact that you still have the mother, the children, it really is a cliffhanger because it's definitely not a true ending to a film at all, because you're like, well, what about the whole rest of the family? Like the grandma, the mom, all the kids. I mean, like what happens? Specs and Tucker and all of them. So it definitely is like the definition of a cliffhanger for sure,
Yeah, and I wondered too when they first made this first one if they thought that it would get a sequel. Like, I mean, you're putting out a movie like this, and at the time, on $1 million budget. I mean, obviously, I can't remember if Paranormal Activity came out around this time. I think Paranormal Activity was a few years before this. I think it was 2007. Paranormal came out.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was before. Yeah.
Yeah, but this was one that was, I just wonder if they really planned that there was going to be sequels, if they thought it would really do that well. I don't know.
Yeah,
So
because that the whole like, oh, we need to make 5 sequels trend is like more of a reaction to like the MCU, which wasn't really a huge thing in 2010. Like that's become a more recent thing, I feel like. So probably like 2016 onward probably is like, oh, we're planning out 3 movies after this to make this one movie a franchise now.
Yeah.
So if I had to guess as someone who wasn't there, my guess would be probably they were like one and done, but then it probably made a shit ton of money and they're like, oh, cool, another one, because that's how it works.
that's true. I'm trying to see how much this one made. It made, so yeah, this was a $1.5 million budget. It made 100 million. So
It's pretty good.
There you go. There
you go.
Bet on
no way
day
they weren't
one.
gonna make a sequel.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think, let me see what it made, because I could tell you. It opened with 13 million, and it was number 3 at the box office. And you would laugh at the 2 movies that it's behind. It's behind Hop and Source Code.
Oh my god, that is really funny.
Yo,
Yeah.
I saw Hop in theaters. when
I
was
saw
7.
Source Code in theaters. Yeah.
Oh,
'Cause that's the Jake Gyllenhaal one.
Source Code was good, but
Yeah.
I would probably watch Insidious over Source Code first.
Oh no,
That's just
yeah,
me.
I would
That's just
definitely
me.
watch. Oh no, I would definitely watch Insidious over Source Code. But I remember seeing. It's funny because I must have been one of the ones that saw Source Code over, and because I definitely saw that in theaters, but I
Same.
didn't see Insidious. Yeah, that's kind of funny.
Yep. So
And then
that's just something.
I've never seen Source Code. So
Yeah,
like,
it's okay.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Well,
It's okay. I saw Hop, so I'll be the Hop. I'll be the Hop defender.
There we go.
One other thing too is, do you guys ever like look at the Rotten Tomatoes scores for these kinds of movies?
You know what? I don't look at Rotten Tomatoes, but I do look at IMDb. IMDb is usually my go-to.
Yeah, because it has a 66% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is good for horror.
It is
good really good for horror.
It is.
I mean, the 3 things I look at before I see a movie, I mean, it doesn't affect me going to see a movie or not. I just do it because I'm interested. Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, and Letterboxd. Those are the 3 things I look at. But I mean, I've never like gone on there and seen like, oh, this movie has a 15%. I'm not going to see it. I'm like, it's a 15%. Let me go hate watch this movie.
Well, one thing that you have to pay attention to sometimes too is, I don't know if you know this, but sometimes you'll get like I watched a horror movie and it has like a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes, but it has like 8 reviews from critics.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like, come on, man.
It's on an average or like on a scale kind of thing.
Right. So like if it only has like 8 reviews, man, like you can't go on that. But sometimes they do. They do.
Also, like the way Rotten Tomatoes works is just like really weird because it's just the percentage of people that would give it a positive review. It's binary, like yes or no. Like I could give Insidious a 3 out of 5 and Ryan gives it a 5 out of 5, but it's just a yes from both of us. Like there's no distinction between that. And so you could have 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, but everyone says it's a 3 out of 5.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
It's iffy, Rotten Tomatoes. That's why I like looking at like the Letterboxd ones and IMDb too, because then you like actually kind of get what people think about instead of just, would you recommend I see this?
Compare different sources, because I always tell people when it comes to horror and you're looking at like IMDb, it's like a 6 and up, like a 6.0 and up for horror is all good.
Yeah,
like that's really good. Like a 6, anything like. I'm looking at Insidious Chapter 2 on IMDb right now, and it's got a 6.5. That's really good for horror. It's really good. Because even in the 5s, there's a lot of gems even in the 5s, too. But, the 6.0 and up is all usually pretty safe, because horror just gets a really bad rap. So it's like
especially on Rotten Tomatoes from, like, critics, because they're like, oh yes, let's go to the prestigious film festival and watch Killers of the Flower Moon by Martin Scorsese. Instead of hey, let's go watch Terrifier 2. You know, like
Right.
it's just not comparable. Like you have something that's made for a very specific audience of people who want to see this in Terrifier. And then you have Martin Scorsese movies. It's like, yes, this is very well made because it's like Oscar bait and stuff. You got great performances on that stuff. It's like it's just not comparable to each
Fair
other.
enough.
So there's
Yeah.
kind of like trying to figure out the audience with it too, because sometimes the
And
critics aren't the target audience.
yeah, and the joke of it is too, though, like you get so much great acting and performances in a lot of horror films. That's what kind of bugs me is like, I feel like they just don't give them really a fair shake because of, you know, the horror genre itself. You know, people just don't take it very seriously, I think, in most cases, unless it's like, it's got to be something very prestige, like The Exorcist, you know,
Or like,
Hereditary. Even Hereditary, a lot of people
or
say it got
people like
snubbed and stuff like that.
Jordan Peele. People really like Jordan Peele's horror movies. Say that's more
Get
like
Out,
prestigious
you know,
stuff.
Yeah.
A24 movies. A lot of A24 horror.
yeah. So, you know, but there's so
That
many
elevated horror.
right? The word elevated. It's a lot of the horror does not like that word, dude. You know what I mean? It's not a very positive word in the community. Like, if anything, it's more like you might say like art house horror, you know, or something like that. But yeah, it's just. But you get so like Insidious has. I mean, I think Patrick Wilson does a phenomenal job. I think Rose Byrne does a really good job. I think Lynn Shaye's great. You know, I mean, you get a lot of very solid performances. I mean, so that always kind of bugs me because I feel like. I don't know. I just don't think they're really fair when it comes to the horror genre, but it is what it is. You know?
Or like especially last year, like regardless of what you think about X and Pearl, Mia Goth did fucking phenomenal in those two movies.
Oh yeah.
And then and then everyone around Oscar time's like, why didn't Mia Goth get nominated? It's like because it's horror. No one nominates anything from horror related.
Especially Pearl, because the entire performance hinges on her. I mean, the entire movie hinges on her performance. So that's, I mean, that whole movie is just riding on her for the most part. But also the mother, I forgot who the actress is that plays her mother in that movie, but she also does a great job. I mean, so that's, you got another one in there too. But yeah, I don't know, man.
The movie was riding on her, or was she riding on that scarecrow? I was trying to explain Pearl to my grandparents, right? Because they're like, what movie are you gonna go see? I'm like, well, I'm gonna see a sequel to this movie X about these people that went to go make a porno, but then this older couple was mad that they weren't horny anymore, and so then they start killing everyone. Like, oh, that sounds interesting. What's this new one about? Like I don't know what this new one's about, but it's got a chick grinding on a scarecrow till she climaxes. So
your grandparents must be really cool.
Yeah, I'm sure they would love to watch Pearl and X. That's what
just
we'll
the
do
fact that you can tell them about what it's about is pretty hard to even talk about that stuff.
Hey, they asked me, so it's kind of their own fault at that point. I'm gonna explain it. All right, a few more comments. I also have the Steelbook. Awesome.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, it's great Steelbook.
Oh, we got Mike in the chat. Hello, Mike.
What's up, Mike?
Fellas. Hope you're all doing well. I'm doing fantastic. Mike, I hope you are doing great as well over in UK. Holland. I like Letterboxd the best, but I don't look till after I've seen it.
True.
Yeah, I'm really bad at that. I'm just curious, but it never like excites me more or like makes me less excited, if that makes sense. I just kind of see it just because I'm curious. Like it doesn't affect me when I look at scores like that all that much. Because the only thing that would like affect me is when I like read the first reactions to things instead of just seeing a number.
Well, the other thing is too, when people rate stuff, how they rate stuff is different, because I've seen people on there, they're like, oh, I really didn't really like it, but I guess I'll give it like a 3.5 out of 5. It's like, what? You said you didn't like it.
Yeah.
So I feel like some people are nicer than others, and like some people don't like to give, I guess, like lower star scores unless like they truly think it's trash or something like that. Versus us, like, you know, we're actually like critiquing it, and I mean everybody has like a different way. I just think it depends on like your expectations, and like for instance, we were talking about IMDb. people can just go on there and just rate it a 0 and never have seen the movie. So
Oh, that irritates me. Like a year ago, I was just on Letterboxd and John Wick 4 was on there, and I looked at it. It's got like 55-star reviews already. I'm like, the movie's not even out. Like, what are
yeah.
you rating? They're like, oh, I'm sure it'll be great. Love this movie. Haven't seen it. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
That drives me
I-
It just
Yeah, I always like to read the user reviews because I always try to find the ones that are more in the middle, because the ones you always got the people that hype it up like crazy, and then you got the people that are giving it like a 1 that are just trying to dog it. So I always try to go for kind of the middling reviews to get like an honest take on it, you know?
There you go.
I very, very rarely give like a half star or a 5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. I think I have like over 1,000 movies logged on Letterboxd. Maybe 50 of them have a 5 out of 5. Like, and I think maybe like 30 of them have half a star. Like, I just don't do that. Like, those are like reserved for the best of the best and the worst of the worst for me. Like,
Right.
Jumping on the corn.
oh,
Can you
God.
give a 0?
Have you
on
seen that?
Letterboxd?
Have you seen that?
Unfortunately,
No,
I watched it on Shudder.
oh God, dude, what the fuck
I
is
didn't even
Corn
log it, dude. I was
Groot
like, I'm
in
not
that
gonna waste my
movie?
time even writing
Like,
about it.
have you seen this, Anthony, the new one?
No, I knew it wasn't gonna be. I just stayed away from
Have
it.
have you seen the first Children of the Corn? Like any of them? Like know what it's about?
Yeah, it's been a long
So
time, but yeah, I've seen them.
the
I've seen some of
the
them.
like he who walks behind the rose in this movie is literally just Groot, but made out of corn and corn stalks. I was like, are you shitting me? Like, there's a reason this movie was made in 2020 and then sat on the shelf for 3 years because nobody wanted to see this.
Mm-hmm.
And I was an idiot and paid like $5 to go see this movie.
Yeah.
It's way too much.
Every single, like, that was one
Oh,
of
and
those
then-
movies that literally didn't get a single good review, like not a 1.
Oh, and you bought it? Oh my gosh.
You don't even have the damn slipcover? Didn't it have a slipcover?
I don't know. I didn't care that much to look for a better copy than that.
I'm just saying, if you're gonna get it, at least get it with this.
It was on
Slipcover,
it was
right?
on sale for $5, and that was already $5 way too much.
That's fair. That's fair.
Fair enough.
All right, one more. Mike, Insidious franchise, a hell no for Ryan. He'd prefer Bones and All. Oh, I'm sure he would. That was his favorite movie of last year.
He loves his cannibal movies.
Yes. Want to watch Cannibal Holocaust later? Okay.
There we
I have
go.
watched that.
Insidious 2. I haven't watched it.
You gotta check
Insidious,
out Bone Tomahawk.
Insidious 2.
Check out Bone Tomahawk. That's a good one.
Who's that directed by? Is that Craig S. Zoller? Is that the guy's name? Or am I thinking
Yeah.
something else? Okay, yeah.
That's-
Because he did Drag Your Cause Concrete,
Yep.
which I saw. And
And
I have
Cell Block.
I have that one. I haven't watched that
Vince
one
Vaughn
yet.
one. Yeah. Cell Block 99 or Cell Block whatever. Yeah. It's the one with
Brawl
Vince
and
Vaughn.
Cell Block 99.
Bronze. Yeah, something like yeah, Brawl and Cell Block 99 or something.
All right. So Insidious 2. I'll start for Insidious 2. So, I really like this sequel. I really like how it explores the kind of sub-story about. Oh, here, I'll do it too. There you go.
I need
Ryan,
to
you gonna
upgrade.
join?
I need the freaking. I still have the DVDs, dude, for these.
Oh, DVDs.
Except
Oh,
for the 4K
come
for
on.
the first one, but the other ones are DVDs.
But I really like how they explore more of the subplot with the Bride in Black and like what all that was, and just like when it reveals, like the slow reveal of what the Bride in Black, like the whole backstory and mythology was. I thought that was really cool and just really creepy. I'm pretty sure there's also the scene in this one where they like walk into the chapel and it's just like all the bodies there, right? Yeah,
Yep.
that I really like that. That was really creepy and effective. The way that it tied itself to the first one, like with the the baby monitor thing where they go to the room, the guy's there, then he's not there, how they like tied that into this one. It just felt like it tied itself to the first one in a very natural way. There's just like some things to where it kind of felt a little bit rehashy of the first one. The way that they kind of chose to make Patrick Wilson the villain in this one, I wasn't a huge fan of, even though I thought it made sense narratively. I don't know, I don't like seeing Patrick Wilson be a bad guy because I just want to root for him, and I can't root for him when he's trying to kill his children. So, but yeah, so yeah, I thought it was a good follow up that tied itself to the original in clever ways and continued the story pretty naturally, I would say. We'll go over to Ryan.
Yeah, this one. So obviously it goes back into when Josh is a younger kid, and then we also get the investigation of Elise's death. And with this
Oh
one,
yeah,
yeah, with this one, I really like the follow up to the first one. I think that it builds on more of its elements. I like that we learn more about the old man that was abused by his mother and beaten and basically told that he needs to be a woman. That was very interesting, and the traumatic experience that he had as a child. I really like that. I just think that it's not as good as the first one, but I definitely still like a lot of the elements in here. I like how, music again. You know, this one I think explores even more of the further, and I think there's more time spent
yeah,
in the further. So I like a lot of the dark elements, and I feel like there's a lot of parts where when they go in the further, you're kind of like, well, what's going to pop out? I think there's a lot of creepy aspects of the different people that they see in the further. So yeah, I just like that it's definitely even more darker, and I love that we're learning more and we're going into the backstory of Josh and how he was seeing all this stuff in the further, and yeah, I think it's pretty solid for the most part. But like I said, I really do enjoy the building of the further. That's the main thing for this one for me.
Very good. Very good. Yeah.
Anthony.
Yeah, I liked. Well, for one thing, I liked the Carl character. I thought he was
Right.
cool. His dice, when they're all sitting at the table, and he throws the dice and it gives them the answers. Kind of like instead of like the Ouija board, they're using these dice. And I thought that was really cool and pretty intense. That was a really good scene. I like again when Carl is, talking to Josh. And he's like, "What's that behind your back?" And Josh is like, "Why don't you ask your magic dice?" And he's just like,
Yeah,
his hands shaking. And he's like, "What is behind Josh's back?" And he rolls them, and then it says knife, and then he just pulls out the. That's so
Yep.
yeah,
good. I love that. I love the scene where Josh is just completely nuts and he's pulling a Jack Torrance from The Shining and he's just chasing his wife and the kids throughout the house.
Yep.
He's like pounding that door down and his face is like sunken in and nasty and it's really intense and I love it. And it gave me major Shining vibes. But I thought Patrick Wilson pulled it off very well. Yeah, once again, all the characters, I think everybody does a great job. I like that they started it right where they left off in the first film, basically, and then you're just kind of left wondering, like, well, Josh is taking over, right? But he seems so normal at the beginning. So you're like,
Yeah.
is he? I mean, like, what's going on? It's so weird. And then you start to see, like, a little bit at a time and how his tooth fell out. And
Deteriorating.
Hey, yeah. And yeah, I thought all that was great. So I really dig Insidious too. I thought they did a pretty solid job with everything. And like you said, exploring the further even more. I agree.
Oh yeah.
yeah. I think that's the best thing that this movie does is just like expanding upon the lore established in the first one in like a way that doesn't like contradict itself or like have to retcon anything. Makes sense.
The beginning was also interesting too, because we get to see Elise when she was younger and and then talking to Josh's character when he was a kid and doing that whole thing. The only thing that took me out of that a little bit was the whole like dubbing over with Lin Shaye's voice onto the younger actress. That was the only thing that kind of like took me out of it a little. They did a good job of kind of hiding it because they wouldn't. There'd be times where they just wouldn't show her like lips, like the front of her face, because they were trying to kind of hide that. Because it's a younger actress, obviously, like a lady that's in like her, maybe like her early 30s, late 20s, something like that. And Lin Shaye's voice is being dubbed in, over that actress's. So it's a little weird or whatever, but I still really like that whole scene, the whole beginning of that. I thought was pretty cool because we get more backstory into Josh and his family, his parents, and all that kind of stuff. So that was nice as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Fox.
Oh, I was just gonna say, the other scene that I really liked is I really liked learning about like the hospital and how Josh's mom is involved, and Parker Crane, how he tries to castrate himself, and when Parker is with her on the elevator and he walks out and she asks the nurse and she's like, "What are you talking about?" Looks at her like she's crazy. Like, I love stuff like that.
Yeah.
It just makes it more creepy. Just seeing stuff like that. So that's one scene that definitely stood out to me as well.
Very eerie. Yeah, because it's very subtle. It doesn't hit you over the head with like a jump scare. It it eases you into it, and then you kind of get this like it almost makes the hairs on the back of your neck all stand up. It's one of those scares, like unnerves you. Yeah.
Also, I'm gonna say I think I personally like the lore and backstory and just like the development of the Bride in Black, like as a villain as a whole, more so than the Lipstick Demon, because the Lipstick Demon is just kind of, hey, Lipstick Demon wants children's soul. Like, I don't know. That's kind of what he's like to me. But then like with the Bride in Black, you just get like this really complex backstory and get to like learn so much about like what the Bride in Black is and all that. So I think
that's a good point. Yeah.
I think they're both really good. I just prefer like understanding the motives and like the deeper meaning and stuff behind the Bride in Black.
Yeah, I think when they initially must have came out with the first one, I think it was a little bit more simpler idea, but I think when they wanted to go for the second one, they were like, okay, so now we have to really go a little bit deeper into Josh. We have Josh possessed at this point, and then I think they created the story from that, and that's why we got more of the further here. And then obviously we got the backstory with Parker Crane in this one, and other stuff going on in there. So I think the first one was more so just to build smaller little aspects within the characters, and I think the second one was really to dive more into the further and really describe what's going on in there a little bit more. That's the way I view it.
Yeah, I would say a good comparison to how like the first one just kind of like establishes like, hey, here's the further demons, astral projection, all that stuff, and then the second one just like explores it and expands it more. I think a good comparison to that could be John Wick 1 and 2, where the first John Wick just kind of like, hey, it's John Wick, got this world of assassins and continentals, all that stuff, and then the second one just like really dives deeper into that. It's like, oh, it's this whole global organization. You got these markers and stuff. It's kind of taken that formula a little bit, which I really like it when sequels do that, when they like find a smart way to like expand upon what previously came instead of just, oh, let's just do another one just because.
Yeah. And I like the iconic look of the Bride in Black too. Both the Lipstick Demon and the Bride have these really cool looks to them. I would love to have a NECA figure of either one of them. I think they both look cool because the Bride in Black, she has that creepy smile on her face, and it's obviously she's dressed all in black. She has that black veil. I mean, I think it's a pretty cool look. It really is. I like it a lot.
Was it? I think it was the first Insidious, but it might have been number 2, where there's just that family with like the really creepy smiles.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
you know what I'm talking about? Yeah, when they're sitting on the couch. Is that the first one or was that this one? I think it was the first one. I thought it was the first one.
I think it was this.
Because I thought it was like when Josh went into the further to like find his son, like he was just like walking around the house and saw it. I don't know. It's one of these two. I know it's one of these two, but that is really creepy and really
Yeah.
effective.
The first two kind of blend together because it feels like one extended film. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
one. So it's kind of weird because they tie so well into each other, which is good filmmaking, once again, by James Wan, because they really do tie into it almost feels like just one film. So,
Yeah.
And
Like, you
nowadays
could
it would be
just
because it'd probably
just
be
watch
3
it back to
hours.
back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank God it's not. I appreciate the run times. I like that, like, all of these are like an hour and 47 minutes.
Yep.
You know, like, it's perfect runtime. Not too long. It doesn't even hit the 2-hour mark or anything. It's great.
Mhm.
You know.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with 3-hour runtimes if you can merit having a 3-hour runtime.
You better
and
be
can,
able to merit it,
and,
though. 'Cause a lot of
like,
these
like,
films
you
are
gotta-
not
you gotta earn
meriting
it.
I'll tell you right now.
I'm not saying Insidious, but I'm saying
Yeah.
like last year the Batman I thought earned a really long runtime. Maybe not 3 hours, but it earned a really long runtime.
Mhm.
You know, but then you get some movies like Fast X. Like, why the fuck is Fast X 2.5 hours long?
Yeah, there was
Like-
recently a movie I saw called God is a Bullet, and that was 2.5 hours, and it was about a cult basically that was kidnapping people and killing them, and I was like, you got no backstory of them, and I was like, man, why is this 2.5 hours? This is crazy.
Did
You know,
you
you have to
review
have-
that one yet?
I did. God is a Bullet.
I think I avoided it because I wanted to go into that blind. I mean, I know the basic premise of it, but I think I know that I know what you're talking about because I know it's about the trafficking stuff and all that. But
Yeah.
but overall, it just sounds like it's a very hard watch for sure to say like.
Oh, you're thinking of Sound of Freedom.
No, I heard that's also a hard watch, but I
Okay,
heard
okay.
God is a Bullet is also very rough because there's like some intense stuff going on.
Oh yeah,
Dude.
There's like a lot of like a beating women and stuff in that movie. It's like,
Well, they both those films deal with the trafficking stuff, from what I understand, like human trafficking and stuff like that.
I would say God is a Bullet doesn't have as strong as a message because it's not even a faith film at all. Like, there's no faith at all. The God part, it's based on a book, I think. But like Sound of Freedom, I think is more so like a global, I guess, issue with the trafficking.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah, this is more so. They don't really have like a big purpose, I guess you want to say, behind what they're doing. I don't want to say too much because you haven't watched it, and
yeah, I look forward to. I really want to see it because Micah Monroe's in it. She's usually pretty awesome and everything.
Yeah,
and then you've got Nikolai, the guy from Game of Thrones, who's like the lead dude in there. That played Jamie in Game of Thrones. He's like one of the lead actors in that. So, and Jamie Foxx is in it as well. So it's got a really solid cast. So I can't wait to check it out. Yeah, but yeah, 2.5 hours though. It's like, God, man.
It's long. It's too long.
Did it need to be 2.5 hours? No, probably not.
No. I promise you, it does not.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Because I saw that
100% honest.
When I saw that runtime, it worried me. I was like, dude, why?
Mm-hmm.
Just 2 hours. 2 hours. Okay, come on, you can do it.
Yeah.
Edit that down. Yeah. Chop it down.
Yeah. It's really hard when you're like, I really want to see this movie. It's like, but I gotta set aside 3 hours, and is it going to be worth it to spend 3 hours of it? More like 4 hours, by the time you drive to the theater,
right?
Sit down, watch previews, and then come home. It's like a 4-hour commitment. It's like that's like all my free time, just to go see one movie when I could just stay at home and watch 3.
Yeah.
So you better earn it, otherwise I'm gonna be upset.
Yeah.
But as soon as I get done watching it, I'm gonna go back and check out your review, Ryan. I thought I saw that you reviewed it, but I think I did. I think I avoided because I was trying. I'm like, I should go into this as blind as possible.
Yeah, fair enough, man.
Yeah,
I get it.
But I do want to check it out.
All right, we got one more comment here. Mike, heading to sleep, guys. It's nearly 1 a.m. here, but I'll leave you all on one question. If you could make a final Insidious and add any actor to the movie, who would you add?
Oh.
God, who would fit well in there?
That's a good question.
Maybe like Walton Goggins or someone like that.
Oh, God, that's a great
who could
choice.
just play some but maybe do like some like he's like in an insane asylum or something, and he just like
Oh my
gives a
God,
crazy performance, and he's like, oh my God, the further it exists, demons, all this stuff, and Boomer's like, nah, that's not real, but he's like trying to convince him the whole time or something like that. He could pull that off. So
dude.
I'll go with Walton Goggins. How about that?
I like that. No, because it's a great answer because he's an amazing character actor, especially. So he could do exactly what you're talking about. That's good. I might go with Giovanni Ribisi because he's another guy that I feel like is a really good, just a really solid actor, and he's kind of got this like already this kind of creepy look about him. Sorry, guy. I like the actor a lot, but he does just kind of have that look. And I think he would fit well into the franchise as well as kind of like what you were saying, like one of the, demon type characters or something like that, Yeah, I like it.
I'm not sure who
Got
I
you,
would
Ryan.
pick.
You got any picks?
I don't know. It's a good question.
And then if you wanted to bring
Who's your
a
least
little-
favorite actor? We'll put your least favorite actor in there.
I think it would depend. Oh gosh, dude, no Melissa McCarthy. We don't need her ruining this.
Melissa McCarthy in Insidious 6. You heard it here first.
Oh God, and it's ruined.
All right, Insidious 3. Ryan, would you like to start us off for Insidious 3?
Yes. So I'll just go ahead and say it. This is my least favorite out of them all.
Oh.
My least favorite. Yeah, this one, it's obviously a prequel. This one's a little bit different because you're following. I think her name's Quinn, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's her name.
Her name is. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Yep.
Yeah, and obviously she gets hit by the car, and she's seen the whatever you want to call it, the demons, or whatever you want to call them. I don't know what you want to call them. And then she gets hit by the car, and then she goes.
The oxygen mask demon.
Yeah, the oxygen mask demon.
I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I don't know. And then obviously she's bedridden. Scenes that I do like. I like that they use the bell in this one. The bell as a way of how they explore it. I do like it is creepy that above her, I guess they live in an apartment complex. I think that's what it was. They lived in an apartment complex.
Yeah, I was a little confused by that as well. It's either an apartment complex or like a duplex. Or something like that. Yeah.
And I do like that above them. It's just a dark room. Like nobody lives up there, and all this strange stuff is happening. I like the part where the demon guy with the mask.
Yeah, I don't know what to call it.
The respirator mask guy or whatever.
Demon.
Pushes her with the wheelchair and flops her over. Takes a hug.
So, yeah, man. I don't know.
So yeah, I like that. There's other aspects too, like when she's in the room and she's in bed, and like you see the dark figure in the room, stuff like that. I kind of think the dad's kind of an asshole, to be honest with you. I don't know if you guys felt that way.
I'm gonna say this right now, okay? So we've gotten to this point. Dermot Mulroney, or however I do not like this actor. I'm just gonna say it. I don't like this guy. I don't think he's a very good actor. I think he's phoning it in like crazy. I think he phoned it in Scream 6 as well. I'm starting to learn that this Mulroney guy, I just don't like this actor. And because every time I see his face, I'm like, oh no. It's getting to that point. I'm like, oh no. I think he does TV and stuff too, and I'm just like, God, this guy kind of sucks. And he sucked in this. I'll say it. He sucked in this. I did not like the dad in this movie.
I thought he was an asshole.
I just didn't think he was that good of an actor, though. I really did not like. I didn't like his character or his acting, so it was just bad all the way around. He just sorry, Ryan. I'm sorry, but you hit the sweet spot when he's brought him up. I had to really hammer that one home.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think he's an asshole in general in this movie.
Yeah.
He's rude to his girl, and then all of a sudden he cares, and I'm just like, man, like treated her daughter like shit, man. This girl is like paralyzed, dude. Like in this wheelchair. So yeah, that and yeah, I mean it's just a little bit different, obviously, than the other two. Obviously, prequel, and then I don't know. It's just this one just doesn't match up to the other two, obviously, because it's a little bit different characters, obviously, and it's just a little bit different story. I mean, there's definitely things I like about it, but yeah, I mean that's just like my general thoughts about it.
It's kind of boring too, isn't it?
It does it's a little bit slow in
boring?
parts.
Yeah, this one's pretty slow. Pretty slow.
I'm
It
like,
is slower.
and doesn't it also kind of feel like a made-for-TV movie? Was anyone else getting that vibe?
Well, it's funny.
I would say I get that vibe from 3 and 4.
Well, it's funny because
personally.
I did a back-to-back. I told you I watched 1 and 2 one night, and then I watched 3 and 4. Well, I actually had to watch this one twice because I fell asleep.
Yeah, dude, I was also kind of falling asleep.
I don't know what
really
it is about this one, but this one, it made me fall asleep, and then like I had to watch it. Like my son wanted to rewatch it. I mean, obviously I own it, but it was on like Tubi or something. My son was like, "Let's watch this third one again." I'm like, "Okay, good," because I fell asleep. So let me rewatch it. And then like we were rewatching it, and I was like, "Man, this movie like." It has parts where like you're like, oh, I like this. I like that they did this. But then there's other parts you're like, man, this is like kind of slow.
Yeah, I agree. Once again, the best part of it was Elise, Tucker, and Specs. Like when they brought those characters in, it got like way better at least. But man,
he was also an asshole to Specs and Tucker too. Kept going, you guys aren't professionals and all that stuff,
Right.
So like, he's a character to not like, that's for sure.
Yeah, man, it was frustrating because, and this Stephanie Scott who played Quinn. I mean, I thought she did a good enough job. It's just fine.
Yeah.
But it was just boring. And didn't it feel? It kind of felt repetitive too, right? Like it's
sort of, yeah.
Like, God, we probably could have trimmed like another 10 or 15 minutes off of this movie. I don't even think it needs to be. It's an hour and 37 minutes. I bet I could have got this down to like an hour and 25 minutes. I mean, it just doesn't. I don't know. There's just a lot that I just didn't really care for. It just didn't even need to be in there. It kind of just felt like repeating some of the same old stuff. Probably because maybe it was a budgetary issue thing. I don't know, but yeah, not the budget's no. The budget's 10. What's that?
It's 11 million, I think. Yeah, 11 million budget.
Yeah, I'm seeing on IMDb it says the budget's 10 million estimated though, and then
okay.
But 10 really? This is 10 million, and the first one's $1 million.
$1.5 million, but yeah.
Come on, what did they spend the money? What? Patrick Wilson's not even in this.
Yeah,
I mean, you did
probably to get Lynch Day back.
Whatever this Mulroney guy that money, did you? Oh my God, I demand it back.
Well, this also
demand my money back after that. Who got this money for what? It wasn't even. It all takes place in like an apartment complex, and God,
probably
$10
for
million for this.
Probably for the breathing apparatus guy.
I guess. Dear God. All right, Fox. I'm sorry because I'm just gonna go on and I can rip this. You go ahead, Fox.
I'm gonna share. Wait. How do I share my screen? Here we go.
Respirator demon.
Can I share my screen? Here, I want to say this is what I keep thinking of when I think of respirator guy, the guy from SpongeBob. Like I can't stop thinking about that.
What you want to know what's crazy is this director has written a lot of horror films. He's written Dead Silence, the first 3 Saw films.
Well, yeah, it's Lee Winnell. It's Lee Winnell. Like that's the most surprising thing about this movie is that it's directed by Lee Winnell, and you're like,
yeah,
Lee Winnell directed this, and then you like think about some of the other movies he did.
Yeah,
it's like
directed it. Yeah,
it's like this is the guy that directed Upgrade and
great
Invisible Man.
Great
like
movie.
both of those are great. And then you kind of look at Insidious 3 and you're like,
What happened,
this is
buddy?
just this is just generic Insidious stuff that
Yeah.
isn't like, because you get rid of the Lambert family, and so you're just following these new characters you don't really care about, and you're
Mhm.
like, then you get the boring ass demon, the breathing apparatus dude. And you're
Okay.
like, I don't care about this guy. He's not as cool as Lipstick Demon or Bride in Black. It's just like
Yep.
some demon with health problems, you know?
Right. You
So,
kind of feel bad for the demon.
So
yeah.
I think that we agree that this is all our least favorite. I'm assuming.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It
So
is.
No.
Sorry to
Within-
spoil the
with-
ranking at the end, but yeah, this. I think you can tell by all of
Yeah.
our reactions that this is probably, at least for me and Ryan, I think for sure this is dead last.
Yeah, for you guys it is.
Yeah.
We haven't gotten to my least favorite yet, but
So at the end, do you want to do stars about what we would rate it out of 5, or do we just want to say it now? Or
think
we can
we're
do
gonna-
it with the ranking.
We're gonna rank them, right? Are we gonna
Yeah.
just go from like
we'll
least
we'll
to
tell our
best?
stars at the end. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sounds
That's
good. Yeah.
fine.
We can do some math and give our average rating too.
Right,
our-
we can do-
Like the official stamp of approval rating.
There you go.
We can do the Rotten Tomato.
Yeah, on tomato.
Yay or nay?
But yeah, I mean, there are some elements to this that are cool because I mean, you still get to go to the further and stuff. Like there's just some classic Insidious elements you get in this movie. It's just not as interesting as the first ones. It's just kind of generic. And like when I was watching it, this is kind of where I started to get burnt out on Insidious.
Mhm.
And this one and the next one are kind of the ones holding this franchise back from like being amazing to me or whatever. It's just kind of like the first two are really good. I really like the fifth one, and then it's like these two I'm just like, like what are you doing?
Yeah.
And they like with the first one, they really like wrote themselves into a corner because they're like, oh, we killed Elise. How do we get Elise back? Prequels. Let's only do prequels now. Or let's go to the further and she's just a ghost in the further. Like that one makes more sense, and I like that narratively more than let's just do a prequel. Elise is still alive. It's like that just seems kind of like a cop out just to get Lin Shaye back, but
Oh, by the way, I wanted to say hey to Spicy 4K Action in the chat there. What's going on, man?
Hey,
hello,
what's up,
spicy 4K action.
Going on?
How's it going, dude?
Yeah. All right, Insidious: The Last Key. This one's my least favorite. I will say that.
Yep.
There you go. Anthony, do you want to start us off for the greatest movie ever?
You know what's funny? I actually really do like this movie.
So do I.
I do.
Oh,
I really
come
like this
on.
movie. I do. I like it a
Oh.
lot, actually. I think it's really good. I love that it takes place, by this prison and they're executing people, and then the ghosts are naturally just flooding Elise's house, that's already very problematic. And Elise and her mother both have this gift. And then you have like the whole abusive father angle, which obviously turns out to be him being possessed, which you find out in the third act, which I thought was really well done. But I like that they don't tell you that immediately. At first, you just think this guy is like a real piece of work, and he's just, beating his daughter. And, it's difficult to watch. They do a great job. It kind of reminds me of the scene in Black Phone, too, where the guy is hitting his daughter, like that scene. Very hard to watch, but it's effective, and then the mom Elise's mom ends up getting hung, and it kind of looks like she hung herself, like she committed suicide. And I thought all that was great. There were some good scares in there too, with like the bunk bed scene and all that. I love the way the demon looks. I love the key demon, very creepy.
Oh yeah,
key finger in you, shuts you off, so you can't speak anymore, and then eventually can just take you over.
Yeah.
Very effective. You still get to go explore like in the further a little bit in there as well. And you get of course Tucker and Specs back, which I feel like they've got a little bit more to do in this too. And I like how they're kind of hitting on the girls a little bit too, or trying their best to kind of talk to them and stuff. I thought that was fun. Like I said, a good amount of humor, just like a little dosage from those guys is kind of perfect. But the scene where you find out that dude, like when you find out that the girl in the house was being held there, she's not actually a ghost. She's being held captive there by the guy, and you're like, oh my God, she's not even a ghost. And then that guy comes down there and he locks Tucker and Elise and the girl in there, and she's all chained up. He's got that gun. He's going through the house looking for specs and stuff. That was all very great too and suspenseful. But I mean, I could just go on and on. I don't want to say everything, but I thought this movie was great, and it's funny because it gets a lot of hate, and I'm like, I don't get it. It's funny to me because I thought it was directed really well. I thought the demon looked sweet. I thought Elise was great. I thought the different versions of Elise too, from when she was a little kid, then a bit older, and then I thought those actresses did a great job.
Yep.
I mean, I don't really have any negatives. This movie didn't bore me to tears like Insidious 3 did. Like it actually kept me very invested in it. So, yeah, I really like it. What about you, Ryan?
Man, you took a lot of stuff.
I'm sorry.
I was gonna say
this one gets me so excited though. So I was like, I'm really happy to talk about it.
Yeah, I like you. I also like the dynamic of them going back and showing Elisa's life and showing how she was abused and her father and all that going on, and how you talked about the girl that was held captive. I agree on that. I really do like the whole key thing where he puts it in her throat, turns that key, dude, and like it's just silence. Like to me, that is like, I mean, it's called The Last Key. So
Yep.
Yep. I just it definitely has a different kind of color to it too. I don't know, like the way that they filmed it a little bit more. Especially
this one's more like a blue. And the other, and the first three are more, and I guess all of them are more like green. This one's just like blue.
Yeah, like different colors. Obviously the jail and all that was really cool. This one, I don't know if I would say it's the darkest out of them all. I mean, I guess kind of in a way. I mean, but yeah, I don't know. This one, I don't understand why I get so much hate either.
I know. I don't get
It's got like a really bad Rotten Tomatoes score,
Yep.
and like it was like critically hated by fans, and
Yep.
I'm just like, this is the one that you guys really hate. Did you guys watch 3?
I know. I don't get it. Is it just because Lee Winnell directed 3, so they're giving it like a pass because they like that guy a lot, or
I don't know.
It's weird.
Maybe they really like the respirator guy. I don't
Demon.
Maybe they felt sorry for him. I don't know.
That's the only thing I can think of. The only thing.
Yeah, I think this one is a little bit. It's not as repetitive as the third one. The third one, like you were saying, like I feel like there's a lot of scenes you're like, okay, like this respirator guy really isn't that scary. It's just kind of like, whatever. This one I just felt like it's much different than the previous 3. But it definitely has a darker vibe to it, and I definitely like, the story in general. So yeah. So I would say this one is not a slam dunk like the first 2, but still really good. I would say I don't think it deserves the hate.
Yeah. All right, Fox, tell us why you hate it.
Okay, I don't hate this movie, but it is my least favorite.
You hate it.
Hate it. This is my least favorite movie of all time. It was like pulling teeth trying to watch this. No, this one to me is the most forgettable out of all the Insidious movies. Like number 3 is memorable because it's so boring to me. like this one, like I can't remember jack shit about this movie. Like I know that you got the key demons. There's like a jail thing in there. Otherwise, watching this movie was like in one ear, out the other. It was just so forgettable to me. To me personally, I don't really want like this whole convoluted, deep backstory for Elise. I kind of just like her as just like this paranormal investigator. Doesn't like that doesn't have like this huge backstory. It's just she just investigates paranormal stuff. So I didn't really enjoy that all that much. Specs and Tucker, I like them as side characters. I like them as like comedic relief side characters, but I don't really like when they're at the forefront and like the main characters or like some of the main characters and have like massive amounts of screen time, because to me they were just comic relief characters and then they just got overused in 3 and 4. So it's just, I really do like the Key Demon though. I think it's a very interesting design, and a really cool like mechanism and interesting like lore and stuff for that. It's just like, it's just so forgettable to me that like, yeah.
Well, this is also a different director as well.
It is. Yep.
And
It's Adam
then
Robitel, which I don't know if you know stuff he's made, but he's done both the Escape Room films. He did Paranormal Activity, The Ghost Dimension, and he did The Taking of Deborah Logan, which I really like that film.
Yeah, and I
I really like
the
the
first Escape Room. I didn't see the second one, but I liked the first one.
I
thought it
like
was
I
good.
like both of them. I like both
Yeah.
escape rooms.
And I liked, which
So-
Paranormal Activity did he do?
Ghost Dimension. I think that was
that
the sixth
last
one, I
one?
believe.
I don't.
I haven't
don't-
watched any of them. I have them. I just haven't watched them.
Yeah, I'll have to look to see if I've seen that one. I've seen most of them, but I'll have to try to think.
Maybe this is
They
the
kind of
fifth
blend together a bit, but yeah,
Yeah.
they. But no, I know the directing I thought was pretty solid. Lee Winnell did write it, so he's back in the writing seat again. But maybe I don't know. The third one just wasn't. It wasn't hitting from a directing standpoint. That third one, what I
Yeah.
mean. So maybe he's better at just writing. I mean, I'm not saying he's a
Didn't-
terrible director or anything like that, but
It was
the
just
third
kind of
one
like
felt
him
like a
trying to
made for
figure it
TV
out.
movie. It really did. And a $10 million budget, I'm like, dude, where did the budget for the third film go? I just don't get it.
Well, this was also
Yeah.
10 million as well, the fourth one.
This felt a little bit more because at least the demon looked awesome. With
Yeah.
the key fingers and all that stuff. Like there was some
Yep.
cool stuff going on. And just I like the look of it overall, like the dungeon where the girl was being held and all that kind of stuff, like in the basement of the house and all that, and like it's just everything. I don't know, is just way creepier. The mood was better. I like the color of it. I like the whole tone of it because you're dealing with like real life stuff now too, not just ghosts. This girl was being held against her will, chained up, all that's all really effective in a creepy way as well. So
Right.
yeah, I just thought it did a lot right. Yeah, but I would have to say, I don't. It doesn't feel like the most expensive movie either. It's almost hard to believe that this was $10 million, but it doesn't feel cheap. Like
No.
the third one feels cheap because it kind of looks like a made for TV movie. This doesn't look like a made for TV film to me, but it's hard for me to believe that like $10 million, maybe just because things got more expensive like later on stuff, obviously inflation, stuff like that. But yeah, it looks a lot better than 3, that's for sure.
Yeah, lighting's definitely different.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right. So that'll bring us to the last one, the Red Door, the brand new one. I really enjoyed this one because being burnt out after 3 and Last Key, I was like, what else do they got going? I really enjoyed going back to the Lambert family and like just like the story they told. I thought was pretty interesting to like how they brought it back because they forgot everything at the end of 2, so like trying to have them like rediscover this like time that they forgot, I thought was really interesting. I thought it was also really interesting that it was more so like character focused on Patrick Wilson and Ty Simpkins' character of like them trying to like mend their broken relationship. I thought that was really interesting because we haven't really seen character work like that in this franchise. I thought Patrick Wilson did a great job for his directorial debut. There were a lot of like callbacks to the first one, just like with the way they frame shots. Like there were so many shots where Patrick Wilson was just like sitting there and just like tilt his head, and you're like, oh, is the demon gonna show up behind him?
Yeah.
Like I thought that like 4 times throughout the movie. Just like the sound cues and stuff. So like really smart callbacks, like that. Really like one of the big negatives for me, I only had 2 negatives, I think, is like the very ending when Lin Shaye just like shows up in the street. I was like, what? Like that's just here just to get Lin Shaye in here. I didn't think it made a whole lot of sense, and I didn't really like it all that much. I was just like, she doesn't really have a place in this movie, so just don't put her in here just because you need Lin Shaye in your movie.
Mhm.
And then to me, it also felt like The Further was kind of like a little bit of an afterthought in this movie, to where like the story between Patrick Wilson and Ty Simpkins' character, like that was the main focus of the story. And yes, like The Further ties into that and all that stuff, but it just felt like you didn't get a whole lot of the stuff you go to Insidious for. Like you don't get a whole lot of demons and astral projection and stuff. So
Mhm.
as for me.
Fair enough. You want me to get her next?
Sure.
Go for it,
Okay.
Ryan.
I just recorded my review today for this, so a lot of this will be some repeat stuff that I've already said in my review. But for me, I did like the character development. I like that we have Dalton here. You know, he is discovering, you know, what he can do, and then going into The Further. I thought it was interesting that the Josh and you know, his wife, whatever, they divorced, and but some things that I noticed that is like with Rose Byrne, she isn't in the movie as much, which is a bummer.
No.
I
It's
don't know
basically
why they.
just a glorified cameo.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know why they showed Carl in the beginning, where Josh talks to Carl, and then we never see him again.
Yep.
Like,
Thought that was weird too.
what's up with that?
Yeah.
Also, I don't know if maybe I missed it, but do you remember in the beginning of the film where Josh is sitting in the car and you see like in the background like some kind of demon? Was that
Yeah.
Elise or was that somebody else or
I
something?
think that was his father. If
Okay.
or at least that's what I thought, that it was gonna be, that it was his dad. Like,
It's
and
so hard to
like when they
make
did that
out.
later on,
Yeah.
and it was like his dad goes kind of like stalking him at the window there, and then I thought back to that, and I'm like, oh, I wonder if that was what that was.
I think you're
Yeah.
right though, because if you look at the hair and stuff, I think it does match up with like his father's. Yeah, so I think you might be right. The more I think,
Yes.
yeah.
I do like that they introduced that, you know, when Dalton's in college, they have the new girl, Chris, played by Sinclair Daniel. I have the name fresh since I just did my review, but I like her comedy that she, you know, presents in the film. Obviously, he's in college and like he's got the frat boys and all that stuff. And I do like when they go into the house, like he's seeing the visions of the boy in the bathroom and he's like throwing up and everything like that. That was really cool. However, I think like in certain parts, like some of the tone of the film is a little bit off in points, like with the comedy and the horror parts of it.
Yes.
Um, I also found that the third act, it felt a little rushed. Like we get into The Further, but it felt like we weren't there for that long, and it felt like to kind of solve everything. It felt like a very quick fix. You know what I mean? Like we're there. All right, this is. I guess we'll say what the ending is because we're doing spoilers, right? You know, he does the painting, and then it's pretty much over. And I don't know if you guys stayed. Did you guys stay throughout the whole end credits?
Yes.
Okay, so you know about the flickering of the lights and everything like that. So obviously it's going to continue on, and obviously you know it's already made its money and everything. It's already made like 32 million on
Oh
like
yeah.
whatever budget it was. I think it was 11 million for this one, something like that. But yeah, that and another thing I will say that I did appreciate it, even though it was a slow burn, because a lot of people were really not happy with the fact that it was a slower movie and slower pace. You know, with that character development that I liked. I also like that they kind of didn't put Specs and Tucker and do their whole paranormal investigation thing because we've seen that enough in all the movies. So I was fine with them just making a cameo appearance in this, just because we've seen it enough now. Like, not that I don't like them as characters, but I like that they kind of sideline them for this movie and try to do something a little bit different because I think with this movie, some people also complain that there was too many jump scares. But I think people also need to put in perspective that it's a PG-13 movie, and there's us that's seeing it that we're older, but then you're also kind of I think they're really redoing or trying to continue it on and also grab you know that younger audience like us that saw the earlier ones, you know, to bring them in. So I think with also the tiebacks that they put in there, of the older films, like the music and stuff like that, the demon look and everything. They're also trying to, put the jump scares in for like the teens and stuff like that. So that was my take on why they did on that kind of stuff. So that's my long general thoughts.
No, that was good, man. That's good. Hey, I went on about The Last Key. So, you were in this one. Yeah, I just for to get the negatives out of the way, I do not like Chris in this movie. I actually hate her character in this movie with like a bloody passion. She took me out of every single scene she was in and just killed it for me because it was like they had to have that like quirky character, but times like 10. It was just like, it was so, I mean, she's literally playing whatever that weird instrument thing is at the beginning.
Yeah.
Very, woo, like, oh, like, and then, of course they have to have this is a liberal arts college, emphasis on liberal, they have to have like that moment now.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus, God almighty. It was just so much. And then even with the frat stuff, it's like, look, I was never in a fraternity or anything like that. And I'm sure, I know bad stuff happens in fraternities sometimes, but can we please stop? First of all, you don't have to join a fraternity. So if you don't want to join one, just don't join one,
Yeah.
But you don't have to be like a snotty little brat about it. Fraternities are so evil. It's kind of like joining sports. If you want to join a football team, it's good for team building, camaraderie, hanging with the guys, stuff like that. It doesn't have to be like, oh, they're taking advantage of women, doing all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, does everything have to be like that? Do we have to paint every,
Yeah.
So, because they have the biggest douchebag in the world running.
Nick the Dick.
Nick the Dick, exactly.
And
he gets kicked right in the dick, too. And I'm just like, good Lord, man. Because, you could have written it to be a little bit more subtle, and I would have, maybe appreciated it more, but it was just so in your face. Like, see how bad it is. And I'm like, okay. But when it was exploring the actual horror element of this, and, going back to like, Patrick Wilson's character, and all that stuff. Everything with Josh, I liked. I thought that was good. His relationship, it was so sad. This was a moment where Patrick Wilson, like the acting was just so good. When he has that like intense fight with his son, and then Josh just leaves after they have that fight, and he's walking to his car, and he's just like holding back tears. You can tell like how upset it made him, to like yell at his son and what his son said, about him and stuff. And you could tell the expression on his face, when he's walking back to his car is just like, it's so sad. It's perfect. It's the perfect like man thing too, because it's like, he's not weeping. Like there's not tears streaming down his face. You can see that he's holding back all that emotion, and you can see it in his face. That's really good acting. And it's pretty subtle too. So I liked that. I liked it when he's, I don't know, was it like a memory game he was playing when he was putting all the things on the windows trying to where they were at?
Like that.
And then, the guy just crashes through the window, his dad.
Yeah.
I thought that was effective because they kept kind of teasing it, because you can see him walking and then he just disappears. You can see him walking and then he's gone, and then he goes to put it up and then he just crashes through. I thought that was very effective. And I would completely it's like these people that are saying, oh, there's too many jump scares, and it's like all the Insidious films have a ton of jump scares in them, but it's how you do them. It's like, how effective are they? And I thought this film did a good job. The MRI machine, that whole thing, I thought that was great with Patrick Wilson, with Josh, and the whole MRI machine. I thought that was very well done, where you kind of see the hands coming from behind him, and then all of a sudden it's just crawling up there through the bottom, where his legs are. I thought that was great. So that was an effective scare. Because jump scares don't have to be bad. It's just about how you present them, I thought this did a pretty good job. I like the painting aspects. Like he's painting, and once again, his dad, he's wielding that hammer, and he's got this sinister look on his face. Yep. It looks like Jack Torrance. I'm sorry, from The Shining. It really does look like, but I love it because it's very creepy. It sets the mood, and he's even like, it's perfect. And then I like when the hammer's coming through the picture too, when he can actually grab it. Remember that
Scrapped
scene?
it, yeah.
I thought that was cool. Everything with Dalton when he's in the painting class and all that stuff, I thought that was good. You know, I like the lady who played the professor there, that actress. Hayam Abbas, something like that. Hayam Abbas. She did a great job. But yeah, I mean, so a lot of it was effective, you know, even when he was in the further, you know, and you can see Dalton as a kid climbing up the ladder and then he falls, you get like the whole scene, all that. I was like, oh, that's good. But there were two things with some of the ghost stuff too. The one, they expected you to really like have this big emotional moment when his dad shows up, and I wasn't feeling it. Didn't hit me like they want you to be weeping by this point. It's not hitting me like it should.
Same.
Maybe they could have set that up a little bit better. And then the scene, I agree with Fox with Elise, you know, at the end is just like, really? I don't think we needed this. Yeah, I agree. Like, you know, it's not like it hurts the film. It's just it felt very odd, you know.
Yeah,
and it felt forced.
Yeah, she's so well lit and everything too. I'm like,
she looks fake. She looks fake.
We could have lived without that. So that, you know, for me.
But like the scene they did earlier where it was like the YouTube video of her, like that was a good use of the character. I thought that felt like natural instead of just, hey, look, Lin Shaye's standing in the street.
Yeah, really.
Like, yeah. I will say, another thing that bothered me a little bit about this movie was just kind of like how they defeated the demon, because let's just paint over the door black. That kind of bothered me. I was like, I just felt like there was something a little bit more interesting that you could have done instead of that. So
right.
Yeah. It was very simplistic, very easy out, you know, to get rid of. We'll just paint the door black. And they're trying to make it suspenseful, like he's holding the door and stuff, and it's like, you know, like it's not.
All you got to do is just paint it.
Yeah, you know, not too, you know, and then he's got his lantern, you know, his dad shows up, and it didn't hit like they want. You could tell they're like, oh, this is gonna really get them crying and emotional and stuff, and it's like, I feel like they just didn't build up the dad stuff enough, and I'm a sucker for dad stuff, like when you kind of put that in movies, but it wasn't hitting like they wanted it to, you know, but. Overall, it was still like it was like a fine movie. It was good, but it wasn't great for me or anything like that. Not like, you know.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's great, but I really enjoyed it. I had a good time.
For sure. You could have a good time with it for sure. I mean, it's not a bad movie or anything by any stretch, you know. Like you said, none of them are to the point of like being unwatchable. I mean, even the third one, it's like, even though it's boring, you know, in a lot of ways or whatever, but I could still see people having enjoyment watching it. Obviously they did, because a lot of people like it. So for me, it was just, for me and Ryan, we just thought it was kind of, you know, boring at times and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because we both, like, I almost fell asleep to it. You did fall asleep to it.
Yeah.
You know.
It's interesting too, because my son went with me. He's seen all of them. And I asked him what he thought about it when we were walking out. He goes, I kind of liked it. He was like, you know, he's 12. So like, I felt like this one was that tested his limits a little bit for like a slower burn horror, because he hasn't watched. He's just kind of getting into the horror genre. Like, I've been introducing him to different films, and he really likes this. Like, he got his mom to go buy him like the whole like set of the 4 or whatever, because he really wanted them for his DVD player. And yeah, this one I felt like he definitely tested his limits, because it was much slower than some of the other ones. So it's just interesting to hear somebody that you know, 12 years old watching this.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
it's good to get his perspective on it. You know, that's cool.
Yeah. So
yeah.
To your point about Chris, I think the reason why they had her in there was because, if you remember, Dalton wasn't really getting out of his shell, and he was kind of complacent with his shell. So I think they used her to kind of spruce him up a little bit and get his personality about. because if without her, like that wouldn't have shined, and maybe they felt like it would be too dull without somebody, I guess, there like by his side.
Without the comedic relief character, because you
Yeah,
don't have
that's why I think they had her in there.
Specs in there.
That's
Yeah.
but yeah, it's not gonna work for everybody.
It's not like, it's funny, and Sinclair Daniel, who plays Chris, I'm sure she's a perfectly fine actress. I didn't think her acting was bad. I just didn't like the way that the character was like presented, and the writing behind it was just, I think it was a little like just too much in your face, and they could have just made a little bit more subtle, just kind of tone that back a bit. But yeah, I mean that because the thing with Tucker and Specs is it's funny, but I feel like it's subdued at the same time. Like it's not too much comedy, it's they're not in it enough to like kind of ruin anything, where I think she's in this movie more, and it's very over the top a lot of times for my personal taste. It just kind of takes me out of it.
The type of humor they did with Chris was definitely more like in your face and like just bombastic, just like very lively, and just like instead of like Tucker and Specs, it's just kind of more like
low key.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
So,
but we did it. All 5 films.
Yes.
Nailed it.
Yes. All right. So we'll move on to our rankings now. Who wants to go first?
So are we just gonna tell all of them at once, or are we just gonna all say like, "Oh, this is our number one"?
What if we?
We should probably start from the bottom. Maybe go from the bottom and then hit the top.
Yeah.
Go from 5 to 1. Do you want to go, Fox? Do you want to go in like this, or do you just want each of us to just go all 5 at once?
I think it'd be better if each of us just did all 5 at once.
Okay, sounds good.
So that way we hear like everyone's list at once.
Okay,
sounds good.
So, Anthony, do you want to?
Yeah, I'll start. Sure. So, no surprise, but Insidious 3 is at the bottom. Mainly because I don't like the dad character, his acting, or his role in the film. But
the breathing apparatus guy.
The breathing
how's
apparatus
that not? How's that not make it number 1?
Bad. It feels kind of like a made-for-TV movie, and it's just the story overall is just kind of boring. I mean, it just is. It's watchable. You can watch it. It's kind of boring. I don't know.
Yeah,
just is what it is. Next would be the newest one, The Red Door. That would be my 4th place. Like I said, a good movie, but it didn't hit the highs that I wanted it to. And then also, not having Rose Byrne in it for more was odd. Or even the brother, because the other brother's like around his age, so it would have been cool to see maybe the brothers come together to battle this demon out, help each other. I mean, he talked to him on the phone, like a couple times, and that was about it. So it was kind of like, oh man, I feel like they could have utilized the brother a little bit more.
Agreed.
And then this one's really tough because this is like neck and neck for me with these next 2, but I think I'll go in 3rd place. I think I'll go The Last Key. It's close though. It's really, really close with the other one, but yeah, I thought this movie was great. It kind of did its own thing with Elise, Tucker, and Specs, really giving them a lot more to do. And I like that we get, Elise's backstory, it really fleshes out her character. I really liked, I wanted to mention that too. The actor that plays her dad, let me see. I like that actor a lot too. Let me look up that guy's. He's in a lot of stuff as well. Where is he? Josh Stewart. Yeah, okay. Josh Stewart as Gerald Rayner, the dad, the abusive dad in this, who turned out he was just possessed. That guy, that actor, Josh Stewart, is really good. I like that guy a lot. He's in the Collector films as well. I think he does a solid job. But yeah, I really like The Last Key. I think the demon looks badass. It's awesome. I mean, look at that hand right there. Perfect.
For sure.
And then, this is neck and neck with The Last Key, but I'll go with Insidious Chapter 2. because the thing is with 1 and 2, because obviously my number 1 is the first Insidious. It feels like one story, so it's kind of hard not to put them together because
Right.
it really feels like one movie. So I gotta go Insidious 2, and then 1. 1 is number 1, and Insidious 2 is number 2 but they just kind of feel like one film. They flow seamlessly together. So yeah, that's my ranking.
All right, Ryan, do you want to go next?
Yep. So last place obviously is number 3, and if I would do stars, I'd probably say about 2.5 out of 5. It's okay, but it's just not quality like the other ones, I think, as much. But I wouldn't say like it's unwatchable, like Anthony was saying. Number 4, I would say the Red Door. I would give that a 3.5 out of 5. I do like that it's different and differentiates itself from the franchise as a whole. And obviously there's negatives with the whole Rose Byrne thing, her not really in it. There's some other things they could have done, especially like the last act and stuff like that. But overall, I really did enjoy it, and I'm fine with like all the jump scares and all that. So that would be number 4. And then number 3 would be Last Key. And again, that one, I don't know why it has so much hate. It's one of my favorites. It's got the dark tones to it. I think, again, it's much different than the first 3. And I think it holds up well. And I don't know, man, it's just the key, the demon key. Like, that's just, it's cool. I mean, just turning the key and silencing someone. I mean, it's just, it's cool. So yeah, that would be my number 3, and I would probably rate that around probably about the same score, about 3.5 out of 5. And then number 2 would be Insidious 2. I rate that 4 out of 5. Like Anthony was saying, they pretty much go together. I mean, it's just one big story, really. And it just, it's finishing off, and gathering from 1. And then my number 1 would be Insidious, 5 out of 5. I really love that movie through and through. It's definitely a movie when I think about like in, decades, like from the 2010 era, that would be like one of the top horror movies. It's just a movie that I remember seeing in theaters and really enjoying it for what it was. And I think they just did a really good job on the budget and what they had. And I just think it's a very effective movie. And I was really big on the sounds and the music and just creating the whole atmosphere and getting us into the franchise. And I think they do a really good job of introducing that. So, yeah, that's my rankings.
Let me, you know what? I'm sorry. I forgot we were doing the star ratings as well. So I'll run through that really quick. So I give Insidious 3. I give 2 out of 5 stars.
Yeah.
Right out of 5. We're doing out of 5, right?
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I give this 2 out of 5 stars. Watchable, but pretty forgettable for me. You know what I mean? Kind of boring. So, and then the newest film, I would go 3 out of 5 stars. Kind of just put it right there in the middle. So the newest film, The Red Door, I'd go 3 stars. Insidious: The Last Key, I go man, it's tempting to put it higher. I really like it. You know what? Because everybody hates on it, so I'm gonna go 4 stars for The Last Key. I don't care. It's getting 4 stars. 4 stars for The Last Key. And then Insidious 2, I would also, I guess I'll go 4.5. Because I am putting it above Last Key, but it's very close.
Yeah.
But 4.5, and then Insidious, I'll go 5 with Ryan. 5 stars for the first Insidious film for sure, because it's a classic, man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I put it right up there. I put it as like a modern day classic, and you can, like I said, you can throw on 2 right after it, and it's just like one film basically. So yeah. What about you, Fox?
All right. Consider you guys had the same rankings, I'm gonna differ so much. So last place is Last Key for me. I just don't like this movie at all. I don't hate this movie. I'd give it like 2 out of 5. Like it's watchable. Like we said, like none of these movies are terrible, right? So I will I will hard contradict that 4 out of 5 you just gave Anthony. That's a hard no from me.
Damn you!
I didn't know I was doing a live with some Last Key lovers.
Oh, yeah. You would have never invited us on.
Yeah, I would have just done this solo if I knew that. Then I'd go number 3. It like 2.5. It's like 2.5 for me. I mean, they're pretty. I mean, these two are kind of interchangeable for me, honestly. Being honest, I think they're clearly like the weakest two, just for me. And then I don't know. On my letterbox, I do have Insidious 2 at number 3. At like I think I have it like 3.5, but then I also have Red Door at 3.5. So those two are like 2 and 3 for me, kind of interchangeable. But I do have Red Door at number 2 as of right now. I really dug Red Door. It kind of surprised me how much I enjoyed it because I got burnt out on 3 and 4. I'm like, oh, this franchise just running off on Steam at this point. Like, they don't really have anything else they're doing interesting. But then I really dug it, so maybe it's the surprise factor that made it higher. Then obviously, First Insidious at number 1. And I just go 4 out of 5 for that one. So I think it's really good, but I don't think it's life changing for me.
How dare you?
I know. I know. Actually, I want to change my rank. I'm gonna put number 3 at number 1.
Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna change it
How dare you?
just for breathing apparatus guy.
Breathing apparatus guy.
How would you rank the demons of this franchise?
It's a good question.
Like, if we do like the main 4 demons, right? Like a lipstick demon, Bride and Black, breathing apparatus guy, key fingers. Like, how would you rate those 4 or rank them?
I mean, the original. I mean, I just think for that time period, like that, like that's the iconic guy. I mean, maybe he's Darth Maul in disguise. I don't know, but
No, he has a cool look. The Darth
Yeah.
Maul thing. Ever since I heard someone say that, I was like, oh yeah, it does kind of look like it.
He
does look
does.
like Darth Maul. It is kind of funny. But
Once
I
you
still
hear
think
that,
it
you can
looks
never
cool.
unhear it.
Yeah.
He looks cool nonetheless.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'd probably go. What do you mean? No.
The respirator guy is like.
No, this is breathing apparatus guy fan club.
If I
I'd
had
probably.
to go, wait, I'm sorry. Ryan, did you give all yours? How would you rank all 4 of them?
I mean, obviously the normal demon definitely. I mean, pretty much. I would say like
Lipstick demon.
Lipstick demon,
Mhm.
and then probably. I mean, the respirator guy's last. So,
Come on, no.
So it's between the key demon and the Bride and Black.
Bride and Black.
Yeah, so Bride and Black over the key demon only because I just like that whole backstory and everything.
Yeah, it's great.
I think it makes it more creepier. I mean, I still like the key demon. Don't get me wrong. He's fun, but yeah, I'd probably do it that way. I go that route. We'll go that route.
I'm gonna go as my number 1. I'm gonna go Bride and Black. Then I'm gonna go Lipstick Demon. Then I'm gonna go Key Demon. Then Respirator Demon. I think the Bride and Black is really cool.
Yeah,
man. I think she's got a sick look because she's older. She's an old lady.
Mm-hmm.
All dressed in black, the black veil over her face, and then you just see that like that hideous smile. That entire time, it's so effective to me. So yeah, I think she's number 1.
Yeah,
for me.
I would agree with your ranking. exactly, Anthony. That's how I
Okay.
would go.
Bride Black.
Go Bride Black number
then
1.
Key Demon, then Respirator Demon. I love that we Respirator Demon for breathing apparatus. I love both those names. Great.
I should go back and like re-edit the thumbnail to just being
You
like
should.
the
You
breathing
totally
apparatus guy and add him in there. That's the one. That's the one that wasn't in the thumbnail anywhere.
So good.
Because Ryan had the key, then I had the lipstick, and then in the door, in the little crack of the door, I put the Bride in Black in there. So now I gotta find some way to put breathing apparatus guy in there.
So good.
All right. Is there anything that you guys would want to see from this franchise going forward? Now that we've talked about all the movies that have come out.
I'm just wondering if they'll try to do some other prequel or something from here. Like, I'm just wondering where they'll go from here at this point, because, you know, we've explored the family. I mean, maybe they go back to having the family together again, and then something else coming up where they have to go back in the further, or maybe like Dalton or somebody has like a friend or something that has something going on, and
Maybe like Chris or something.
yeah,
Tie it into
like,
Red Door.
yeah, maybe they have something going on. Maybe it rubbed off on them, and they have some backstory or something, and the Lamberts have to help out, and they somehow get involved, and they all go in the further or whatever, and they continue the story that way, because you can't have Elise anymore. She's dead. And then I mean, I don't know if
Except
you
for
could,
street cameos.
yeah, I guess. You could bring Specs and Tucker back, I guess, if you really want them back. I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do. It's gonna be interesting, very interesting. I kind of want Patrick Wilson back in the director chair again. I kind of don't want them to switch directors again, because if you notice, in each one, they all, like, after 2, they obviously have their own style of how they want to handle it. So I mean, I guess they could do another director, but I would like to see Patrick Wilson do another movie and see what he can do with it. And just because, really, I don't know if they really have a story really planned out for a 6-1 or not. It's been interesting to know.
Yeah,
I would
me,
definitely like him to bring. Oh, go ahead, Anthony.
Oh, are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm very sure.
All right. Yeah, for me, I think we go completely away from the Lamberts, completely away from Elise. I'm cool with bringing Patrick Wilson to direct again, because I thought he did a solid job directing. Like, I like the shot at the beginning with the gravestone. You're like looking up at it, and it slowly pans up, and I like that. I like this. I liked a lot of his directing. I thought everything, like that whole MRI sequence, was very well directed, very effective. I think he's got a good eye for directing, especially this being his first film. I mean, solid job. So I'm fine with him directing, but I think we can kind of pull an Insidious 3 and kind of like go away from the Lambert family, but
go towards breathing apparatus guy. Bring back breathing apparatus.
Breathing apparatus demon. And no, you go away. You go away from the Lamberts, and you can focus on another family, but you just do it better than what you did in 3. Because I like the idea of getting away from like the usual people and everything,
Right.
Elise and all the Lamberts and Josh, all that stuff, and just kind of doing a whole new thing. But you got to do it well, and I just don't think Insidious 3 did it well. But I think you can. I don't, because what's so hard about it? Like, what?
Make it kind of like an anthology franchise, but it's like the further ties it all together. Each time's different things.
I think and I think you can bring back Tucker and Specs. Those can be like your recurring, kind of like the new Elise. Whereas they're the perfect ones to bring back, because they're into the whole paranormal hunting kind of thing, you know.
Yeah.
And
they're already established.
They can help whoever the next family is. No Elise, though. I think we're good. We need to say it. You just do those 2 guys. build up their characters maybe a little bit more, maybe give them a little bit more background just so we can get to know them a little bit better.
Instead of them just being like
Two,
comedic
yeah,
relief
just two
characters,
guys.
like
Yeah.
Right.
yeah,
Yeah,
like give them some more to do.
Yeah, give them a little bit more meat on the bone, flesh them out a little bit more, and then just concentrate on a different family. I like that. Maybe actually start the film with Tucker and Specs and kind of catch us up on how they're doing, what they're doing, and then go, maybe they get a phone call and then they go to help this family out, whoever the new family is, and then we get to kind of know the new family. Yeah,
They
I'd
can
like
kind of
something
become
like
like Ed and Lorraine Warren from Conjuring movies.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let's say you could have Specs and Tucker and build their backstory, but then
Yep.
like you could have maybe like somebody else, and maybe like I don't know if you guys like this, but like maybe like you have somebody else and they have some type of relation to the Lamberts, but not exactly have the Lamberts in the movie.
Sure.
And then I don't know, somehow incorporate all that and have Specs and Tucker investigate it and everything. But obviously putting them on the more serious tone with them two, and maybe going from there. I don't know. I mean, build it that way.
You could even have it to where maybe it's one of Tucker or Specs like family members or significant others or whatever, that something bad happens to them and they need to go. It's because then you can build onto those characters and flesh them out in like a very organic way, because whoever is in trouble is related to them. So now you can kind of that might make it flow a little bit more organically, instead of just like another random family, or like what you were saying, somebody that's related to the Lamberts or something, but if you want to really dig into Specs and Tucker, then maybe make it someone that they're related to, so that you can really kind of dive deep into like, because I think because the actor that plays Tucker, he was in the second season of Fargo, Angus Sampson. That guy's a solid actor. So you give him a little bit more to chew on, I really think he can do it. Now, the guy who plays Specs, I don't know as much about him.
It's Lee Winnell.
It's Leigh Whannell. It's Leigh Whannell that's playing Specs. I forgot. That's right. It's weird because it doesn't look like him anymore, because I'm so used to him from like Saw, so he doesn't look like him. Leigh Whannell as Specs. Yeah, I mean, I think he would do fine. Obviously, like he was, solid enough in Saw, and I'm trying to think of other acting roles besides that he's done. I don't know if I'm sure he's been in other stuff. I'm probably just forgetting, but I know he does a lot more writing and directing than acting. It was like, but yeah, I forgot that was Leigh Whannell. That's right. I completely forgot. Because it doesn't really look like him to me, and he's always got those glasses and stuff. But I think you could give those guys some more meaty, meaty roles, flush them out more, and it'd be good. What about you, Fox?
Yeah, I just like from hearing you talk, I think I want them to do like a more anthology route where it's the further ties it all together, but it's just like different families or people that are getting haunted by demons from the further. Just to like explore and get more cool like designs for demons. And I want them to do more backstory stuff with the demons to make them more interesting, like they did with the Bride in Black. Instead of just lipstick demon, evil demon guy, because it's just more interesting to me when you have the backstory for it. So if you did an anthology, did like more backstory work on your demons and stuff, that's what I would want going forward from this franchise. As far as like recurring characters, I'd be fine with Specs and Tucker. I don't know. A part of me really wants the Lambert family to stay, because to me, like the 3 movies with the Lamberts are my favorite in this franchise. So they're kind of like the heart of this franchise to me. But at the same time, it's kind of like, just let them go. Let's move on to other things in the franchise. So I'm not sure. Maybe they can pop up in like a cameo role or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like flashbacks, something like that.
Exactly.
That's what I would say.
Yeah. But yeah, it's good to have some kind of connective tissue. That's why I was thinking Specs and Tucker, just to have a little bit. 'Cause I like that paranormal activity hunting, like you said, like, you know, you're talking about The Conjuring and that kind of whole thing, and they're already connected to the universe, so it's kind of just like the perfect way to, you know, do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, or you could just start completely over, start fresh, and just do a whole new thing. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Well, that's all the top discussion points I had today. Was there anything else you guys want to add?
I think we covered it. All we need to tell you guys is the respirator guy is a legend, apparently.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
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 I'm liking him more and more the more we talk about it.
That's the it's so stupid, but it's so funny.
When's that
all
NECA
right.
figure coming out? That's about
For real. Forget lipstick demon bright and black. I want breathing apparatus
yeah,
guy NECA
come
figure.
on. Awesome.
All right. So Ryan, what do you have coming up on your channel soon?
I just recorded my review for Insidious: The Red Door, so
Nice.
that should be out maybe tomorrow. We'll see if I get it edited. I'm also going to review. I just recently watched Kandahar, so with Gerard Butler. So I will be reviewing that one as well. There's not really anything new coming out this week. I know Mission Impossible comes out, but I haven't seen any of those. So for now, I'm going to pass on it. But there's not really much else out. So probably like my next movie in theater will probably be Oppenheimer and Barbie. I'll probably check those two out.
Very cool. I hope Oppenheimer's good. That's another long movie too, I believe. That
3 hours.
3 hours.
Yeah.
But hey, they let him blow up a bomb. Apparently,
Yeah.
the government.
Oh, really? Like a real?
Yeah.
A real one?
Yeah.
It's
Well, you know,
Nolan.
Christopher
Nolan
Nolan
hates CGI.
Christopher Nolan does not like to use CGI, so yeah.
Yeah.
It makes sense. I'm not surprised.
And then when he does use CGI, like Interstellar, it like advances scientific technology, CGI technology to make an accurate black hole. So like when he does it correctly, not like the cheap directed streaming movies you see.
Yeah.
So, what about you, Anthony? What you got coming up?
You know, it's funny. I literally just got the Scream 6 Steelbook in, so I'll probably do an unboxing of that pretty soon. Show that one off because I think it looks pretty cool. You know, it's nice.
I haven't even seen the design for that. I was gonna go to Best Buy today and look for it, but I just didn't.
Yeah, it's cool. It's just Ghostface looking through like the subway doors. You know, like the subway.
Oh, like the poster. The poster.
No, like you know the subways that they have in New York. You know the trains and stuff underneath there. You know, he's looking through like the window of the doors to the subway. You know, like looking out the glass or whatever. So it's cool. So I'll be showing that one off. And then I don't know. I haven't decided because you know we just talked about all the Insidious films, so I'll probably skip reviewing it just because we basically talked about it. So maybe I'll review the Red Door, but that and then July 18th at 8:30 p.m. Eastern over on Bob's Blu-rays channel. I'm gonna compete in the slipcover tournament that he does, so that'll be fun. You know, try to show off some slipcovers and. I don't know, it'll be cool. You know, it's fun to compete sometimes, and you know, you get to see other people's collections and stuff like that. So that's always fun. And I'm sure eventually I'll show off some more like NECA figures and toys, Toonie Terrors, Spirit Halloween stuff. You know, I know that popcorn gun just came out from Spirit Halloween, the Killer Clowns from Outer Space popcorn gun. It's $100. Ooh, it is big, man. It's a big, like they did the cotton candy gun. That's like $30. This popcorn gun that they have is $100. And that's, yeah. I don't know if I'm going to get that or not just because it takes up so much space, man. It's huge because it comes in a long box and I just don't even know where I'd put the damn thing, but I thought that was pretty cool. And Spirit Halloween's going to have some really kick-ass stuff coming out pretty soon. So I look forward to that. But yeah, that's about it for me.
That's what I find trouble with, like collecting things. Like I don't know where to put it anymore.
I know.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's
like I have a ton of like Marvel props and stuff. Like a few months ago, I did an unboxing for like a Stormbreaker thing. I don't know if you guys saw that at all, but like it's just like leaning up against the wall over there. I
Yeah.
don't have anywhere to put it. And then like in that corner, I just have a Captain America shield. Like I don't have anywhere to put these things. I just have them because they're cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. What do I have coming up? Tomorrow I will probably film, edit, all that fun stuff. My Mission Impossible review. Saw that last night with an amazing theater experience where some guys almost started beating each other up in the middle of the movie.
Oh,
So
I want to hear
that was
that story.
great.
You're going to talk about that story in your review, right?
Yeah,
I want to hear
it
that
was
story.
like so I'll just tell it here just because it's funny.
Oh, hell yeah. I
So
want to hear it.
so these guys, like 3 or 4 people down from me, were like on their phones, and then 2 rows behind him, this guy's like, "Can you turn the phone off? It's distracting." It's kind of awkward. No one said anything. About 5 minutes later, the guy's like, "I fucking told you to turn it off. I was nice. You're an asshole." And it's like, "Oh shit."
Whoa.
And then these guys like take their phones, turn it on, and they're like, "Oh, look at this," to
Oh,
him, like
no.
egging him on. And so the guy from the back gets up and is like, "I'm getting a manager," and then walks out of the theater, comes back with like a that theater person,
Yeah.
and they're like talking over there. It's like loud, distracting. It's like the first 15 minutes of the movie, and it's like all the setup for the movie, and the movie is just one of those movies you got to pay attention to. And like, so I went with one of my friends, and we were both like, we missed something. Like we didn't know what was happening for like a good 30 minutes because we missed this one detail because of all this stuff. And
Right.
then then after the movie,
Oh,
these
no.
guys like these guys were like they like stood up and like were facing each other during the credits, like threatening to beat each other up, like, "Why don't you come down here?" And then there's like other guys that are like trying to get between, like, "Guys, just stop, walk away." They have like 3 theater people come in and then
Oh,
like
Yeah.
escort the one guy out, and then they're like waiting till they get like on their walkie, like, okay, he's gone and left the theater before they like even let this other guy leave the theater. It was
wow.
crazy. I was like, "Are you serious?" Like this was like a special event where you like, because the movie you can see it tonight, but I saw it last night, like this special early thing where we got like a poster and pin,
Oh, sweet.
like yeah, like you get a cool
Oh,
poster
nice.
and then you get
That
like
is
an
cool.
IMF pin
Oh,
That's
with
very
man,
it.
that's
cool.
really cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
so
like it when they give you those like free posters and stuff. I think that adds to the experience. It's really cool.
yeah, so I did that, and they had like this whole featurette before the thing, like on the behind the scenes and stuff. So it's like, people that are very interested in this movie, and you like pay extra to do it. And I was just like, seriously, like
Just
at this out of like all showings,
Did you get
like
your
I
money
can get it
back,
if it's
or
like,
did you get like a
nah,
money or
I was,
free ticket or anything?
I
Yeah,
was,
see, that
no,
sucks
I
because
was just
that
like,
really does just ruin the entire. I mean, could you imagine sitting through that, Ryan, and just like
Oh,
you'd
I
probably
know.
want your money
it
back,
was,
right? I mean, after all
it was
that,
just
Yeah.
that'd be
like
pretty annoying.
the first time that like that happens occasionally where someone will tell someone to turn their phone off, and it's just like awkward for like
Yeah.
a few minutes. It's not that big of a deal, but then these guys are like trying to fight each other in the middle of the theater. It's like, okay, that's a bit extreme, guys.
Yeah.
Or just give me you don't have to give me my money back, but just give me like tickets to go see it again. Just so
Yeah.
I can actually watch the movie without
Yeah.
like, all these distractions. Because I had to imagine if they're doing all of that, that probably lasted a good like 10 or 15 minutes. Just going back and forth with each other and stuff. That
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like before the opening like credits went, like where it's like everyone's names and stuff. Like
Yeah.
before any of that happened is when all this went down.
Oh my
It was
god.
just like, and
Like
it's like all the setup to the movie, and it's like I just missed some of the setup. So thankfully there was a flashback in the movie and showed what I missed, but I was just like, seriously?
Wow.
Like
that's rough, man.
it's just because I like going to those early screenings because it's like,
Oh
oh,
yeah.
these are people who want to be here. I would expect people are gonna like be very interested in what's happening. Like, they're more interested in squaring up in the in the middle of a theater. So yeah, that was fun. I'll probably tell that story in my review.
Oh,
'Cause
definitely. Yeah. You should.
that's just an insane story. That's
Yeah.
like one of the worst theater experiences I've had. Then I didn't do my podcast thingy last week or this week because I had this live stream. So next week I'm probably gonna do like I haven't decided which one I'm gonna do yet. Either I'm gonna talk about all the movies I saw in June, or I'm gonna do like best of the year thus far, worst of the year thus far, most surprising, disappointing, thus far
Oh,
of the
that'd be
year.
cool. That's always kind of fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
because we're like halfway through the year, so you can kind of do
Mhm.
your halfway. Like, okay, this sucked. This
Halfway
was
check
good.
in. Mhm.
This has been a really weird year so far too. I feel like for movies,
Yeah.
I
It
wouldn't call
just
this a great year by any stretch for a
No.
movie.
no.
Maybe some
It
of the
just feels
lower
like
key
everything is
films,
just so okay. I've
Yeah.
given so many like 3.5, 3, 2.5
Yeah,
on Letterboxd. It's just like where were we like last year? We're like every week I'd be like 4 out of 5 or something.
Wow.
Something I'm like
Horror's
I was
been a
like,
downfall this year, definitely,
oh
compared to
yeah.
last year.
There
yeah,
hasn't
it
been
really
like
is. I mean,
there
Not
hasn't
even
really
close.
been that many great horror movies. Like I think on like my list, because on Letterboxd I keep a list of all the movies I've seen this year, and I think Insidious: The Red Door is like my second favorite horror movie of the year, and it's at like spot 15ish out of 64 movies, I
Mhm.
think. And it's like, and I only gave it a 3.5, and it's that high. It's like,
wow.
it's like, yeesh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Are you
I
guys
haven't
gonna
been too
see?
impressed.
Like I say, are you guys gonna see Talk to Me, that new horror movie?
Probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I'll definitely see it. Maybe not in the theater, but I'll definitely see it when it comes,
Streaming.
to Blu-ray or streaming or whatever. But I don't know. I mean, it looks okay. It looks like a fun kind of movie. It looks like one of those movies though that could go either way. You know,
Yeah.
Where it's really. It looks like something that could be great or it's going to just be terrible. You know, I
Right.
don't know if it's going to be.
It's also I'm pretty hesitant with like A24 sometimes because like I don't really know what I'm walking into. Like most of the times, like I don't know, they're so hit or miss with me. A24, like I appreciate the hell out of like the craft and stuff in it, but it's just
Mhm.
like, is it gonna be for me? So I'm always a little bit iffy about that. But I mean, I still go see it because it's always interesting whatever they do.
I kind of want to support it just because of how indie a lot of their films are, and like how they take risks and do different things a lot of times. Kind of makes me
Well,
want to go support them more.
Well, and A24 is on like a really high note right now because they just won Best Picture last year with Everything Ever All at Once.
Yeah.
Like, so they're like, I guess, getting more well known, I guess, probably because of that.
Mhm.
Sure.
Because like they've been around for a while, but it's mainly just lower stuff or stuff that's not getting huge praise like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're getting a little bit more of that money. Hopefully they still are able to keep it like, I don't want to see any big blockbuster A24 films. You know what I mean? I want
Yeah.
to keep it down to earth.
Or
you
like
know?
did you hear that their A24 is like producing a Friday the 13th TV show?
Yes,
It's like
I did that. Yeah.
A24 and Friday the 13th are about as far away from each other as you could possibly think. Like
Yeah.
very artsy stuff with A24 and then cheap slashers with Friday the
Yeah.
13th.
Way different.
It's
Like,
supposed
how
to
are you
be
going to do
coming
that?
to Paramount Plus, I believe.
Yeah,
It's
Paramount.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'll be interesting.
Yeah. Any other horror movies y'all are looking forward to this year?
A lot of people hate it, but I'm gonna go see The Nun 2. Looking forward to Nun
None
2.
too.
God, is that this year that comes out?
September.
Really?
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't realize
Yep.
that came out this year. That's
There's
crazy.
a new Exorcist movie coming out, like
October. Yeah.
in
I'll
the
see
Exorcist
that.
franchise. Yeah.
David Gordon
S-
Green,
yeah.
right?
Saw
David
10.
Gordon Green one you're talking
I
about?
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guy who
Yeah.
did the Halloween movies.
Yep.
hmm
You're talking about
Five
that one.
Nights at Freddy's. I'll go check out.
Yes, I'm so excited for that. I can't wait for that movie.
I didn't realize that Exorcist movie came out this year as well. The one that
Yeah,
David Gordon Green's doing, because there's so many Exorcist movies. So I want to be clear, it's the
Yeah.
one that they're remaking of the original Exorcist, right?
It's supposed to be a trilogy. It's supposed to be a trilogy, they said.
Yeah. Well, he loves his
Wow.
trilogies. David
He
Gordon
does.
Green loves his
And then his
trilogies.
trilogies goes off the rails.
He loves his trilogies. I'll give him that. We'll see.
Yeah.
Exorcist kills.
And
Just vomiting all over people. It's gonna be 3D. It's gonna look like it's coming right at you.
Yeah.
yes.
Oh my
Yeah.
god.
Well, Ryan hated Halloween Ends, and then Anthony and I, or at least last time I talked to Anthony, we were like, you know what, we kind of dug Ends. So
Yeah, I didn't hate Ends nearly as much as most people. Like, it's funny because so I really do like Halloween 2018 a lot. I think that's like a solid Halloween film, from the music to the kills to just, I think the
That one's my
characters
favorite.
obviously could have been better. I'm not like thrilled with Allison or anything, or even Lori, and I think they should have started it from Halloween 2 and not the first one. I don't think they could have, I don't think they should have cut the second film out. Maybe, I think it would have made more sense if he was her brother. I think it would have made a lot more sense. But if you just take it for what it is, I really enjoy Halloween 2018 a lot. I think it does a lot right. I think the music is great. Carpenter and his son killed it with that score. And I really like James Jude Courtney as Michael. I think he does a great job as well. And
He's my favorite Michael.
The Halloween atmosphere, I thought they got right too. It felt like Halloween. It was perfect. So I really dig Halloween 2018 quite a bit. And then Halloween Kills, I was really mad leaving the theater when I watched Halloween Kills. But and it's mainly just because of the hospital scene, but after subsequent viewings, the film has grown on me more and more as I watch. I still don't like the hospital scene that much, but everything else kind of is fine. I'm like, okay, it's good kills. The music's still good. Michael's still good. Okay, there's enough there. I don't hate it nearly as much as I did. And then Halloween Ends was way different than I was expecting it to be, but
way different than everyone was expecting.
It is way different, and it's a terrible end to a trilogy. It's like a god-awful way to end a trilogy. It makes no sense. There's still a ton of unanswered questions, but if you just take the film for what it is, I still enjoyed it for the most part. I just wish that they had gone full tilt Bonnie and Clyde. I wish Allison had she had turned into a serial killer with him. And I just wanted to see them just be like I said, a Bonnie and Clyde, natural born killers, that type of situation with those two characters. But I'll tell you what, if you like Halloween 2018, you can literally just watch that film and it ends very well. You can just assume Michael burned up and that's the end. Or you can assume that, the other film, he's still breathing. You still hear that breathing at the end of it, and you can be like, oh, maybe he lived. But either way, I think it's a solid ending. I wouldn't call that a cliffhanger ending at all. You can just assume that he burned to death. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with
that's
that.
That's how the first one ended. The original just ended with him disappearing. So
exactly,
it's not foreign to the franchise.
Yeah, so you can just take 2018 for what it is and just watch that, and not even watch the other ones. That's kind of the funny thing about it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I think that'll do it for tonight, guys. So
great stream. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yes, same here. Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining it. It was a great discussion. Lots of fun getting to talk about our favorite breathing apparatus guy. Of course, nothing else mattered. So, yeah. All right. Thanks for everyone who tuned in live. If you're watching this in the future, thanks for watching this in the future. Go ahead and let us know how you would rank the Insidious movies.
Yeah.
Tell us why number 3 is clearly the best. So yeah. All right.
Breathing apparatus guy.
All right. Bye, guys.
See you guys.
Later.
Later.